The content on this platform may not align with the views of a certain party or organization. It's important to note that the views and opinions expressed on a platform are often those of the individual contributors and not necessarily reflective of the organization. In this case, Caribbean American news media may not be held responsible for the content posted by its contributors. It's important for individuals to critically evaluate the information they encounter and consider multiple sources before forming their own opinions. If you have specific concerns about the content on the platform, it may be helpful to address them directly with CAM. The content
Caribbean American News Network, the news you report. Let's get to work with the one and only Garfield Oliver, the most loved on Facebook. Tag a friend, tag a hack, share the page.
Malwat. Why them Lucian so make them this?
Suipui, some 2.5%
HCSL thing.
is a tax vibe.
So what that have to do with people getting meg? But just now, to me them people paying VAT already.
Exactly. The tax is calculated on the cost of goods, so one time the price go increase, Kuma. The Lucians end up paying more than 15%.
Mama!
Gasa, just imagine $100 go buy less groceries. People getting poor. Things like rent and utility bills go also increase, Gasa.
Real Malawi vibe?
All them things the people doing to stay healthy, like gym, healthy eating, and safety and security, go be harder to get because people ain't have money.
Partner, if them people have enough money, they go have leftover food for us to eat. The bins go be empty. Wow!
Things real happening to them Lucians. Look out for us again soon. We go show you all more.
At the SLP's Conference of Delegates in Vieux-Fort, Prime Minister Philip J. Pierre made a desperate attempt to rewrite history.
You will remember that the United Workers' Party only gave COVID support to NIC contributors.
This claim is absolutely false. The truth? In July 2020, under the UWP administration, 5,000 St. Lucians who were non-contributors of NIC received $500 per month for 3 months to help them survive the pandemic. Prime Minister Pierre knows the facts, yet he chose to lie to the nation. Why? To mislead and divide. St. Lucia deserves a leader who values integrity, one who speaks the truth, not one who tries to twist it. Pierre, Pabo, we need real leadership, not deception.
And you're allowed to put me out.
Pardon me? not sit, it is your prerogative to stand. Well, stand. I will continue with the business of the House. If you choose to stand, fine. Honorable members, I took the liberty to send a message of condolence on behalf of the Parliament to the Embassy of Cuba on Wednesday on the passing away of the Vice President, Council of State, Julio Casas Riguero. Statements by ministers. Papers to be laid.
Madam Speaker, I beg to lay the following papers standing in my name.
And usher him out. Take his microphone and usher him out. Take his microphone and usher him out.
Allow the disorder to leave the chamber, please. If we have silence and order from the members who will remain, then we will continue. But a member was speaking on the floor and members are leaving in big noise and you call this order? It is not order.
Deputy, mon passe après manger bêtise ça.
No. You have chosen
Deputy, mon passe après manger bêtise ça.
Then I am going to allow you to leave.
Madam Speaker, before I leave, Madam Speaker.
Honorable member, I really need no additions.
Madam Speaker, I want to tell you, Madam Speaker, and the people of Senegal.
And usher him out. Take his microphone and usher him out. Take his microphone and usher him out. Take his microphone.
Deputy, mon passe après manger bêtise ça. Deputy, mon passe après manger bêtise ça.
Welcome to the Caribbean American News Media Show, your premier destination for in-depth coverage, engaging discussions, and entertaining segments showcasing the rich tapestry of Caribbean American culture. Join us as we explore a wide range of topics, from current events and community spotlights to arts, music, cuisine, and more. Our show features exclusive interviews with influencers, artists, community leaders, and everyday heroes who are making a difference in the Caribbean American community. Stay informed and inspired with our thought-provoking segments that highlight the diversity, resilience, and creativity within our community. Tune into the Caribbean American News
If
Media
bone-on-bone
Show
knee
for a
pain is ruining your
captivating
life,
blend of
watch
news, entertainment, and storytelling that celebrates the Caribbean American experience. Get ready to discover new perspectives, celebrate successes, and connect with the heartbeat of the Caribbean American community. Don't miss a moment of the action. Stay tuned to Caribbean American News Media Show for an immersive viewing experience like no other. Hashtag Caribbean American News, hashtag show, hashtag cultural celebration. Welcome to the
Caribbean American News Media, your Tuesday night power hour. Live every Tuesday at 8:15 p.m. on Facebook, YouTube, and GVV TV channel 115. Join your host, Garfield Oliver, as he dives deep into the latest inclusion developments, regional affairs, and global issues that matter to you. From politics to the economy, community stories to international headlines, we cover it all with real talk and real insights. Stay informed, get the facts, be part of the conversation. Don't miss out. Set your reminders, share with your friends, and tune in. Caribbean American News Media, the news you report.
All right, the news you report. Welcome to Caribbean American News Media Platform. My friends, how are you? How was your day? Well, I'm not going to ask you about your Monday. I know you spend it with Like It Is, and you were all excited about Mr. Mortoot's program. That is every Monday at 8 p.m. on Hot TV, and I believe on a number of radio stations there in St. Lucia. But greetings, my friends, and our viewers on the Caribbean American News Media platform, also on channel 115, that is GVD TV Flow channel, and to our YouTube viewers, we want to welcome you. You are growing nicely. You are giving the Facebook audience tete-a-tete. You are really, trying to. I know there's a problem with the quality over there on YouTube. I hope it is not a problem on our end, but it is very faddy. I'm not sure if you are seeing it good. So our audience. All right, it's just settling over there, I guess is the technology. But greetings to all our people. Sakafet, je simply see people from around the world. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I have a special guest with me tonight, and so I will introduce him at the appropriate time. He's already on set waiting. But we got to do some housekeeping here, folks. Yes, Sakafet, monsieur. Shed alive and tag a friend, folks. We are taking off. There's so much happening, friends, out there in our world. The United States, it's throwing tariffs all over the place. Prime Minister of St. Lucia said that the tariffs, I don't understand what is going on there with him, but it seems like somebody got to give him a tariff crash course so that he wouldn't break under the weight of the UK tariff on imported goods based on what he's saying. But Mr. Prime Minister, it is export, anything coming into the United States. However, the people of the Caribbean, of the region of St. Lucia and the world will suffer as a result of tariffs on places like China and other countries. Of course, you, the consumer, will feel the blunt of that, that what I call tax in your skin. That's how government operate. But there's a major war. China is now retaliating with, I think, 1 or 4% tariffs on all U.S. goods. And so the President of the United States is going to hit back on China, and so it's going to be a back and forth. And you folks, especially in the smaller countries, will feel the pain. You're going to feel the pain. Ukai sati yababu no boop. That's what America does to the world, friends. But what can I say? Quickly, we saw, and it is a report that we're following, that Mr. Mimon, the CEO of one of the firms or company from Dubai, who was suspended in St. Kitts. The St. Kitts government blacklisted that company, citing a number of illegal activities. Mr. Mimon and his group they're very upset and is set to want to challenge the St. Kitts government. The St. Kitts government, they're standing their ground that the company has done a lot of crookedness when it comes to their CIP program. However, friends, I break this news earlier too. The gentleman has a St. Lucian passport, which means that he is a St. Lucian, confirmed by the CIP group there in St. Lucia. They're indicating that he, Mr. Mimon, got his citizenship through the CIP program. So we're going to watch this space to hear a press release or something from the CIP office in St. Lucia as to what is happening here. So St. Kitts has cut ties with this guy. Say, no more business. You're not following the rules. You are breaking our laws. And we have issues with individuals that got their citizenship through you, and we have a major problem in our country. And so Mr. Mimon again is saying, look, you guys, we're innocent in the matter, and we're going to be challenging you. But St. Kitts is saying, no. We know what we know, and we know what we did. But we wait on St. Lucia to make a statement, to give us a statement on that whole situation there with Mr. Mimon and his company. But I did confirm that he is blacklisted. I did confirm in St. Kitts through the government CIP program coordinators that yes, he is blacklisted and no longer is authorized to sell our passports or to do business on behalf of the CIP program there. And we did look at the CIP of website in St. Lucia, and his company is still listed as one of the marketing agent for the CIP program. So we're going to watch this space. So we know that the gentleman has a St. Lucian passport. He is a St. Lucian by citizenship through investment, and he is going to be continuing business until the government of St. Lucia or the CIP leaders issue a statement. And remember this, folks, that people are innocent until proven guilty. You can only prove someone guilty in a court of law, not in the court of public opinion. We can assume a lot of stuff outside of information. We sometimes have limited information, and so we got to be very mindful when we are discussing these matters, lest we besmirch people's company, people's character unjustly, I believe. And any person who does that deserves to be taken to task, deserve to be taken to answer for that. So we are reporting that our information was right. We did post we did not post a picture on this platform, but we showed you on one of our live programs a faded, what would appear to be a St. Lucian passport of Mr. Mimon. And so we are confirming today, folks. Hey, Joshua, how are you, my brother? We are confirming tonight that Mr. Mimon is a St. Lucian one, and he got it through the Citizenship by Investment program, and we can confirm that his company was blacklisted in St. Kitts and Nevis. He is blocked from the CIP program, citing, and if you want reference to that, folks, you can go over to the St. Kitts and Nevis CIP unit, and you will see that he's under the blacklisted groups that is no longer able to do any transaction. You go over to the St. Lucia CIP and unit, and you will confirm that he is a marketing agent for the CIP passport. We also found out that the government of St. Kitts did went through with a fine-tooth comb files and passports that was issued to individuals, and they found maybe 13 or so of them that was not in compliance. Some of them did not pay the monies for those passports. Some of them underpaid, which is illegal. It is illegal in the region. It is illegal to undersell those passports. So this is real, friends. It's not a joke. It's not a mirage. It is real, and we were on the ball in our reporting, and that's why we did not apologize, and we're not apologizing for saying to you that the gentleman is a St. Lucian, and he got it through the Citizenship by Investment program. So that's the case. Also, we will want to report fairly that Mr. Martinez, MSR Media Group, has been, the agreement with the government of St. Kitts was cancelled, I think effective yesterday or today. So Mr. Martinez is no longer doing business with the CIP program in St. Kitts, and they are citing an attempt to damage the CIP program. And but when you look at the allegations, against Mimon's company, you will discover that they are using also evidence from Mr. Martinez' RICO lawsuit and his investigations to say to you that, yes, we had underselling in our country. Yes, we had some illegal stuff that was going on. So it's kind of confusing that they're saying Mr. Martinez tried to destroy our CIP, but yes, we just canceled some companies here, maybe 3 companies. We just canceled them from our CIP. So as the world turns, friends, you got to take stuff with a pinch of salt. But things are unfolding, and we need to go after the truth. So Mr. Martinez is being proven correct again with the underselling and those activities that we did flag with the CIP program. It's very interesting to monitor the opposition leader, Mr. Chasney's case there in St. Lucia for the review of the CIP unit, and let's see where that is going to go. I believe it's going to get really rocky from here because we are seeing some movement with the CIP programs around. Hey, Marcel, how are you? Some movement there in Dubai and in St. Kitts and some other countries. I believe Grenada, and there's another country. We are seeing some very serious movement. These guys are not playing. There's pressure on them from the United States, pressure on them from the EU, and so once they start reviewing their CIP program, a lot of passports is going to be cancelled. A lot of companies are going to be fired, are going to be suspended from their program. Watch this space, friends. What we have been saying, it is correct. But I have a guest tonight. I'm not going to, we will have another discussion on the whole CIP program. You can always call in tonight if you feel impressed and you still want to talk, even though we have a guest. My friends, I am happy tonight to have with me a gentleman who is a young man from the Dennery South community, and you know Dennery South is my South. Dennery South is my South. So to the folks in Dennery, Mr. Sotter, and all those who are viewing us on the platform, greetings to you, and thank you so much for being part of the Caribbean American News 3 million viewers movement. All right, thank you so much. And so, friends, we have with us Mr. Mr. Joseph out of Dennery South. He's a young man, and tonight we're going to hear from our youth. We're going to hear from our young man. We're going to try to see things through the eyes of a young person. We as older ones, you know, we talk a lot and we don't listen a lot and stuff like that, but these young people, they listen, they talk, they do everything at the same time. So tonight, friends, I am happy to have with us here our friend and brother from Dennery South, Mr. Joseph. I'm going to call you Mr. Joseph. Welcome to the platform, sir. It's a pleasure to have you. Don't get nervous. He's a young man, and we're so happy. So welcome to the platform. Tell us a little about yourself.
Hi, good evening, Mr. Oliver.
Yes, sir.
Are you hearing me loud and clear?
Yes, man, loud and clear.
Okay, great. So my name is Pernille Joseph. I'm from the constituency of Dennery South, and I'm a typical young person, you know, in my 30s, trying to live life, trying to, you know, live with bear with the cost of living, you know, trying to be youthful, trying to be serious at the same time, and realizing that, you know, I'm getting there in age, and, you know, sometimes that really makes things, it gives you a reality check. It makes you think of where you've been, the experiences you've had as an individual, and really where you want to see yourself, more importantly, where you want to see your country, and basically where you see your place in the whole stratosphere of, you know, survival and life per se. But as a young person, I am a Catholic Christian, first and foremost. I try to be a youth leader. It's very difficult these days, I must say.
Wow.
But you try to do that. You try to live your life, you know, with all the external pressures that comes from your community, that comes from, you know, the day-to-day hustle and bustle, the, you know, keeping yourself sane with everything that's going on around the world globally. You know, that's the type of person I am. I am on my feet. I try to keep myself occupied. It's not always easy, but it is what it is.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I'm happy to have you on. As a young man, I would really like to hear a lot from you as to what is affecting you as a young person. How do you
Right.
see our politicians in St. Lucia, their behavior, whether you're happy with that? I want to talk about Dennery South in particular too. What is affecting the young people in Dennery South? What is lacking? What are the improvements on the Mr. Prosper? And how active are you in the politics of your community? So let's start with, what is your concern right now as a young person with St. Lucia on a whole? Do you see a lot of opportunities? What are your frustration right now?
Okay, as a young person, opportunities when you live on an island that small, it is never something that is, in abundance. A lot of the time as young people, we have to try to create our own opportunities, and we have to think out of the box a lot of the times. It's not always, handed to us on a platter, on a golden platter or a golden spoon. We're not handed things. So over time, you have to really think of how it is that you can improve yourself, improve your life. And case in point, even recently, I'm not too sure if you know about the situation that happened with the Creators Alliance situation on Ireland
Yeah, tell us about that.
the world.
Did you get caught up in it?
Yes, definitely.
Are you serious?
I am very serious. As
Oh God,
a
talk
young
to us.
person, that is something, and we have ministers and people in authority who would tell you, go and find a job, go and do work. When you're doing that, you'll have been lazy.
Oh, you have people saying that to you?
No. You had the minister.
Minister?
In the ministry of the prime minister.
What ministry?
Who made such a statement. The minister of housing. You understand?
Whoa.
He made such a statement when it came to, because even before Creators Alliance crashed, there was a situation with another program that they called GEM that a lot of people gravitated to, and that also crashed. And that was one of the statements said on one of his Thursday shows. That derogatory kind of statement, like people don't want better for themselves, or they just want easy money in that sense, that they don't want to work hard. And to somebody outside there who has house land passed on from generation to generation, or going politics for the wrong reasons, basically to enrich themselves and to have people, beg for things, but they themselves are getting our monies, our tax monies. It may seem, these people are not doing work. But to a young person who's been working for 20 years, working for 14 years, working for 15 years, and who's not seeing a light, that is an opportunity. You understand? To a young person who is, trying their best to live day to day, ends meet, and going to work, and not having a savings, that is a godsend. That is God sending bread from heaven. But I will admit that it was misconstrued. It was probably dealt to us, and we got caught up in something that we didn't fully understand. But like people have been saying, people who got caught up in that same situation, and really after it collapsed and we actually formed groups, people are saying, look at the brighter side. This thing actually pushed a lot of us young people into looking at the crypto world, into looking
Right.
at Binance and different online assets that we would not even think of, and it actually, yes, it taught us a hard lesson whereby, people lost money. People are basically, grappling with the situation that some people took loans, and right now that just disappeared.
And we talk
But
about young people.
Young people, you have older people, you have people who are in ministries, people who are in different strats, how you'd say, like different aspects in society
Mm-hmm.
that you would think that are, basically they're already there and they don't need extra money. Who were in that? People
So,
working in the ministry, people
so I want to go
working
back on something you
institutions.
said, and I don't want to get you in trouble. So you
Right.
spoke about the minister in the Prime Minister's office, Mr. Frederick,
Mm-hmm.
who basically said, you guys are lazy, go look for work to do. Is it? Do you believe that it is? We are at a period where these guys are just dinosaurs, and they do not really understand you young people. So, I mean, we're living in a technological world, and we encourage people to get involved in AI and in the tech industry. It's big business. There's a lot of money there for creators like yourself, and to sit to you guys, basically, it's not a job. You're being lazy, as though you guys are just sitting there doing nothing. I think it could be. Do you think that it's a lack of understanding and appreciation for the era that we're living in right now, and these dinosaurs are just dinosaurs?
Now, mind you, Mr. Oliver, that the Eastern Caribbean Bank on which we have, that has purview over our island, jurisdiction over our island, does have, or they're currently trying to implement having a digital currency, Eastern Caribbean currency. So it is even more than being a dinosaur, because the institution under which you function is moving forward in that area, or wants to move forward in that area.
That's right.
So it is a situation whereby I think we have not been educated as a people about it, because if we were, a lot of us would use due diligence in that whole area. But it is a situation where we saw an opportunity and we tried to grab it.
And could it be that the problem that you guys are in now with this overseas company is that your government has not been paying attention to the creative industry, and so there is no regulation to these businesses when they come in and set up shop, leaving people like you vulnerable to these individuals?
To make it even worse, I don't know how it happened or if it is even legit, but that company was actually even had a license of registration to some sort in St. Lucia.
It's a
I
bullshit.
I don't even know how, if that was legit, if whatever they showed us, if it was accurate, but they showed a paper whereby they said that they were registered in St. Lucia. They were registered in the state of Colorado. They were also registered in London or England, and they were registered somehow in Australia as well. So these people really did all what they had to do. They to convince us as young people and people, that they were legit, and they said that they've been there for a while. So I mean, I don't want to go too much into Creators Alliance, but I'm just saying it was one of those things that actually happened. Yeah.
And they were able to attract you as a young man looking for opportunities. Did you get any opportunity in the youth economy? Did you receive any assistance there?
To be honest and to be truthful to that area, I never even tried to get any assistance with the youth economy, because that would therefore mean that you're setting up a business or something in that sense. So I never really went to them. But in the same sense, there was never any drive to meet me halfway to come to Dennery. Everything is always centralized, that you have to go to Castries, and apart from Castries, the out districts are looked at as outcasts. So then from the time you leave the tunnels, you're basically out of Castries, So it's basically, when you look at it, sometimes it's as if it's Castries and Grozile, that's St. Lucia, and the rest of the island is just looked at as these people that are outcasts, or they have to come into the city for work or this kind of things. There's never an outreach to set up shop in the communities.
Right,
Micoud
right.
has a lot of space. Dennery, I mean, you look at the Mabuya Valley, it's a wide area, but everything is always placed in Castries and Grosile, and it is concentrated in that area. You look at Viewfort being a mecca for development in St. Lucia. And once Viewfort, the engines of Viewfort works, that pulls in people from Dennery to Soufrière. But nothing is happening in Viewfort. The airport is still in a mess. The seaports were never developed. Hotels, there's just one or two down there. They're basically not giving, they're not seeing the potential that is there in Viewfort to develop Viewfort. Even look at health, look at St. Jude's Hospital. So everything is looked at in the sense of St. Lucia being Castries and Grosile. And honestly, you get tired of it after a while, you get frustrated by it, but you have to live your life.
And just to touch on Viewfort, so as a young person, I'm seeing through your eyes right now, you're looking at Viewfort and you're saying, look, basically what I'm hearing from you is our leaders seems to be one-sided when it comes to development in the country. They're only focused on areas like Grosile and Castries, and we have major opportunities. We have the land space. We have the quality of land too, as far as I'm concerned, the flatness. You have space for factories and areas for young people to be free to just flourish. Let me ask you, back in the days, I believe there was a company called it was a call center. What was the name?
Ojo Labs.
Pardon me?
Is it Ojo Labs?
Ojo Lab. Were you ever working at Ojo Lab? What do you think of that? Does it still exist?
I don't think Ojo Labs still exists, or maybe if it does exist, it's not as it used to be. But I think right now the call center that Viewfort has is ITEL, I think BPO, ITEL.
Mm-hmm.
And from what I know, they employ people as far as Castries.
ITEL.
And people, and they travel all the way to Viewfort and go back up on a daily basis.
Who brought that company in St. Lucia?
I'm not too sure. I think ITEL and Ojo Labs came around the same era. I think so.
So that would be the United Workers' Party.
I believe so.
And based on what I'm hearing is that a lot of young people, a matter of fact, hundreds of young people, I think the government was supporting these call centers with the intention of keeping these young people employed. And I know there were a lot of noise that the government is throwing away money and people don't do business like that. But I think the whole idea of these call centers was to use them as what you would call a university or a place where you can work, earn money, and at the same time learn something. You understand what I'm saying? Gain the experience.
Every job that you do, you gain experience. And that's what people fail to realize. You could work for somebody and set up shop yourself doing that or better in it or making a livelihood from it. So at the end of the day, people need to always look at what they're doing as a learning experience, gaining a skill for it. ITEL has, a lot of people going down there, working there. And Ojo Labs at the time, I think what you're trying to say is that, the government actually were paying people salaries and different things like that. Because sometimes you have to, you have to look at the bigger picture. And in the interest of having stable employment, you have to give companies that kick up or that start sometimes.
That's right.
You have to make them see that this investing in that actually can work.
Mm-hmm.
And you give them the start, and then when they start to pick up, then they take up from there.
Mm-hmm.
But we always look at investment in the sense that, the person has to come with everything. They have to get everything. They have to put everything together and just set up shop. But sometimes you have to make and put the enabling environment
That's right.
around that person,
That's
just
right.
like a seed, to allow it to germinate and to allow it to become what you want it to be. And at the end of the day, by doing that, maybe you could have an Ojo Labs in Dennery. You could have an Ojo Labs in Surrey, because right now I think you're trying to get a call center, from what I heard, to Canaries. But then you
Oh,
have to think of what is the population dynamics in Canaries, bringing an Ojo Labs in Canaries. Who does it serve? Wouldn't it be better placed in Viewfort?
yeah.
Bringing another call center to Viewfort. Then you have a wider span of people. When you leave Canaries into Tutu in Castries, no, in Soufre, you understand? So why don't you use Canaries and Soufre, put them together, maybe put a call center in Soufre? In that sense, now you're helping people of Canaries, you're helping people of Soufre and Choiseul. You know, in everything that we do, there needs to be some sort of strategic thinking,
Yeah.
long-term thinking, and not just trying to buy people. It's not because your MP isn't developing or developing a community or working that you feel, oh, let's just fly a call center there and we'll buy the people. Oh, let's give them a few basketball rims. We'll have the youth. You know, just send some, give the fishermen some lines and some gas, and they'll be okay. No, you have to really try to understand the inner workings of your sectors, where you want to bring it, and put the necessary investment. Because at the end of the day, you want to do things long term. And what I realize, you know, the present government is doing, and past governments too, is that they give you the bread, you understand, but they don't give you the tools to make the bread. So when they
Ah,
go, you're out of bread. You are there wondering, waiting for when my party going to come back to give me another loaf of bread. But
wow.
what we should do is give people the necessary tools, the education, and I will bank on my Nobel laureate Safa Louis, who tell you education is the key. Out of poverty, education is really the key, because at the end of the day, if I have my education, you cannot take that from me, except if I knock my head and I get amnesia or something.
Right.
But if you come and you give me uh, 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 if you give me money to a contract, yeah, because the contract is the biggest thing these days. If you give me a contract, the contract has an end, the contract will finish.
Yeah, and the
And
money
then
will
I'm
finish
back
too. Yeah.
waiting for another contract.
Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah, but
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 if
you
I
make a
have
lot of sense in that's what we see now. That's the type of politics that we see. We give you some chicken, give you some bread, give you some temporary relief, and you know we do not equip you to go out there and earn a living with your hands, giving you the start. And that is where I believe why St. Lucia is where it is today, is that I think politicians have been abusing the citizens by just, as you said, just giving them bread instead of helping them to make their own bread, giving them the tools and stuff that is necessary to do that. And, you know, as a young person, I'm happy to hear that from you. But let's come into Dennery, and we can always go back out. Let's swing back into Dennery South. I'm going to ask you a question. You don't have to answer it. How is your rep, Mr. Prosper, doing in Dennery? Your honest estimate.
Health-wise, my rep is doing great.
Oh, he's in good health.
Health-wise, my rep is in good health.
What, he has a big stomach? He put on weight?
I think he's trying his best to keep it down. So my rep is quite good, quite healthy. As opposed to my community, you know, I see a lot can be done in the community, and a lot has been, you know, a lot to be desired coming out of, you know, the caliber of people that comes out of Dennery, that you know, our people, our history. There's a lot that could be done with our community. Dennery has evolved from not just being, you know, this fishing community. Dennery is multifaceted. We do great when it comes to football, when it comes to sports. We do great when it comes to, you know, exporting our own people, our own you know, we have a chief justice overseas. We have
what's the name?
People.
Who is that chief justice?
I think he's related to Mr. The one who's the vet, Mr.
Matthew.
Mr. Matthew. I think he's related to him. Yes.
Oh.
So we have people. We have qualified people in Dennery, and you know, the way the community is right now, it can be better. You know, it can definitely be better.
So
we have nurses, we have teachers. We have a lot of people, a
Yeah,
lot of
Denver is a
the
very nice
cool.
village,
Yeah.
by the way. You
Yes.
know, I grew up there.
Mhm.
Did I know Prosper is the last time I came down, I kept a lot of noise in Dennery, especially when I saw Daito water running for years.
Right.
People are falling. The stores are dirty, garbage, fish guts all over the place. It was so untidy. Then I went to the schools. The schools had no windows. They were broken. They were in a mess. Multipurpose center. The roof is no good. Other government buildings in Dennery just left to. I mean, I got really upset about it, but I realized that Mr. Prosper is now taking care of the
Yeah, definitely.
multipurpose center.
Mhm. Definitely.
And
It's I don't want to say it's too late, but I think we all are seeing what's going on, and I think that was not placed on the priority list as it should have been, because that is a building that everybody knows it's at the center of our community. Every dance, every activity is at the multiple
weddings,
center.
everything, reception.
It houses school, it houses the daycare, so the library. So I believe that is something that he should have really prioritized, if
Right.
I
It should
get
have
the word
been, yeah.
correctly. But I guess better late than never. But sometimes people need to put things in perspective, because community is the people community, and we have to remember what this government came under. They were people centered. They were putting the people first, and hands down, most of the infrastructure work had already been done in Denver. What Dennery needed is that sense of community, especially coming up with all the gun violence that we had and all these different things. You had to have a synergy between our youth, between our areas, which you don't even see the differences between the areas in Denver, because Lapwet and Tualo is almost the same place. Hospital Road and Tualo is basically is only divided by a river. The Hospital Road area, Newfield area, going into Jean, that whole area by the field, Newfield in the village, you cannot even see the difference. So, and Green Mountain and these areas. So there should never have been a disconnection between the youth, for people figuring, I live there and I live here and I do associate with these people and I have guns and all of that. So I really think that the minister should have been an agent of synergy and not of infrastructure, because the infrastructure was done. If there was anything to really do, it was just finishing up,
Okay.
and finishing up
Just
what was already
continuing.
there, continuing and finishing up stuff.
Yeah.
But what you found is that these people came in, and there was no push, no thrust to try and get the youth from the community to have that synergy, have the groups going on again and have the groups flourishing. And it is through those things, having groups, by having positively aligned groups, that you stamp out the evil, that you stamp out the bad mind, as we young people say. Because when you have groups, you have football events, you have community positive community activities happening. You force people to work with each other, and in working with each other, you understand. You get to have an appreciation for your fellow man, for your brethren. And in that sense, now you don't want to see that person go down. You don't want to see that person get shot like an animal by the road. You don't want to see people, hitting people and bringing bad vibes and bad, energy to the village, because it doesn't only affect the person's family, it affects you. You understand? And then we have taken our community, as our own. We have branded Dennery differently. Dennery is not 758, Dennery is 760.
760?
Dennery has always 760. Dennery has its own area code. From COVID, we've had our own area code.
Yep.
So I mean, it was 758, 758, which is Castries, 760 Dennery, and 759, which I think was the South
South.
after you leave Dennery. You
Mhm.
understand? That's so we have created a brand for ourselves. You have Dennery, how you call it? Dennery segment and all these things.
Segment.
We have a flag.
And that is young
So
people coming together, the Dennery segment.
Dennery people. I mean, Dennery segment is more the valley. You understand,
Yeah.
Mabuya Valley, but I guess they couldn't put Mabuya Valley segment. It'd be too long.
So they put Dennery.
So
But Dennery
Dennery,
is
because
Dennery.
at the end of the day, we all Dennery people. You know,
Yeah.
Mabuya is an extension of Dennery.
Yeah.
So you know, we have our own culture. We have our own vibe. We have our own flag. You understand?
Wow, flag too.
So yeah, so Denver people are very proud people, you know. Denver, we're very proud. So we want the best for our community. We know what is the best. You cannot fool us and make us think that, you know, you're giving us the best when we know what's the best.
Mhm.
And that's the type of people we are. We're very proud. I think we beat the Laborians in that sense that, you know, they look at themselves as a republic, but we're an entire state. So so we make it work for ourselves. But at the end of the day, like I was trying to bring it back,
Mhm.
we know what is good. We know what is good leadership.
Mhm.
We know what is good governance, and we can see the difference. I will just leave it as that.
But at some point, I'm going to challenge you to rate some of our government ministers. Huh?
Definitely, I'm not scared to do it. I am
Okay,
not
good.
scared to
As
do
a
it.
young man, I want to challenge you on that because we want to see things tonight through the eyes of our young people, of course. And I'm sure you will have your biases and everything else, but it is okay. You know, all human beings do have it. All right.
Yeah.
What about sports in Dennery? Sports. I know Dennery. You know, we had cricket, we had netball, we had all the balls. We had everything going on in Dennery. Football was a big thing. I remember playing football in my church shoes.
The only ball we have right now is football, and
The
I
only what kind of
also
ball?
sa- football. That's the only thing that we
Oh, I thought
have.
you were going to say ball, but
But yeah, so I sat on the past Denver Youth and Sports Council. Not even that
Mhm.
you can be functional right now because the community has just become so, you know, fragmented as far as I look at it. Um, the football has always been a lifeblood in the community,
Mhm.
and it has I think there's an association, a league or something
In
whereby that
Dennery?
governs it, not in Dennery, but I think nationally. So Dennery gets, I would say, some sort of leadership from that.
Mhm.
So that's probably why the structure is still surviving, and you have young people who just have a love for the sport. But even being in the last Youth and Sports Council, the focus was really on trying to get the other sports involved, you know, getting the basketball
Mhm.
group going again, getting at least a tennis group, you know, working with the cricketers and these different things,
But
and
do you have
all of that.
netball still?
Netball to me,
Or
no,
volleyball?
no, no. We had a group of young individuals from the Valley and Dennery training or working on practicing on the various school grounds, but I don't know how, you know, that group is doing.
What that Maxwell
Because
girl normally play in Denver? I think she's
Shem Maxwell,
Shem.
yeah,
Yeah, what she plays?
yeah. I think she plays netball.
Netball? Because
I
she's my
I
neighbor up
believe
there
so.
in Newfield.
Yes, and she does it nationally, I believe. I
Oh,
don't think
nationally, but
Denry
she's very
plays.
good.
Yeah, yeah, she's very good.
Yeah.
She's a national player. I don't think Denry has any group per se, but she's a national player.
Because I would think
So you
because she's
know,
from Dennery that we can encourage her, at
that's what
least
I'm
to
saying.
bring these
So
young people, these young women together.
again, we have the technical expertise. We
Hmm.
have the people who can do something, but then is there the energy to do it? You
Mm.
understand? Are you getting the funds to do it? Are you getting the
Uh,
resources to do it? I mean, for instance, look at our multipurpose center. The multipurpose center has been decommissioned for 4 years, and I'm only seeing lights they're trying to put the poles up right now. You understand?
That's on the
So
football field.
no, that is the multipurpose center. Okay, so
But
that is separate from
can we, so, because to be fair, can we say that
multipurpose court. Yeah.
the court, yes, because I
Yeah.
would go to the center, yeah.
Yeah.
So, but when I left Dennery a couple of years ago, we did have light on that place.
Well, from the time they had I think the plan was to try and develop the entire sport sieve area, not just the football field. The football field, the cricket field, because as you can see, there is fencing around the cricket field, there is lights on the cricket field, just as on the football field, the stand on the football field. I believe they have rejuvenated or rebuilt or fixed up the cricket house, and the court was also supposed to be part of that plan, whereby there was a general plan to develop the court itself as well.
And that was under Mr. Estefan.
I was definitely under Mr. Estefan, yeah.
So,
but then
the field, the football field, because I went maybe a year ago, I went to Dennery, and listen to me, I spent a lot of time in the area there, and I just love that area. The football field, whoever organized that thing, I congratulate them. They deserve a trophy. You can see the infrastructure that was put down by Este.
Definitely, and you find that a lot of national events happen on that field. Even though the designated field, I think, is in the valley, especially for the youth sporting program. I think the designated field is at Granivia in Dennery. But you find a lot of national events when it comes to football happen in Dennery Village. When you look at Black Hats and all these people, they come to Dennery Village. So a lot of investment had to happen to bring that field up to standard. And sorry for that.
That's okay.
But that was a lot of hard work and development at the end of the day.
Yeah. Yeah, that's okay. Okay. So, and I honestly, let me ask you, the seating. The seating, is that in place on the football fields yet?
The seating is in place, but honestly, I don't think that was the initial plan for that area. It honestly, I don't know.
You don't know? Okay.
What we call it in Dennery, a lot of people have heard they call it, is the gas station.
Hold. So the young people call it the gas station?
The gas station.
Why?
Because it's not what was the initial plan for that area. Honestly, that's I will tell you basically that stand was supposed to house a changing room. That facility was supposed to have bathrooms.
They don't.
That facility does not. It just has like stands. Like if you're going to look at a football activity in some grassy area, just some stands, and they put the covering over. That thing can be taken out, and that was not the plan for that area. They were supposed to be changing facilities. There were supposed to be so many things. I mean, when the plan came out for that, I was one of those who, there was a community night, just like when they had the plan for the park by the Bomaigo area. There were community things were not just put in place haphazardly, and that is something I must say the past rep and the individuals who were on that committee, they did a very good job in at least trying to inform and to involve the community, because anything that you do and you don't involve your people, they're not going to appreciate it. I remember when they were doing the planning for the park, the park at Bomaigo, like I was saying, which has no name up to now. But that park was supposed to not only be a park, but it was supposed to be a flood mitigation barrier. So it actually served two purposes.
Oh, that thing by the bridge?
Yeah. Yes.
What become of that? I saw they took down that building. What was that all about?
Well, we
it
had
was unsafe.
One of the storms that came through, I think last year, was it Brett? It actually caused a lot of damage to that structure. So it became unsafe and they had to take it down. But another facility that was in there was toilet facilities. The
Oh,
toilet facilities were supposed to be opened, and used up for, if visitors come and maybe people who live in the area. Because let's be real, everyone don't have a toilet at home, and
no.
if you have something in an area that can facilitate multiple use, then why not use it?
True.
But I don't know where things went wrong with that facility, that the toilets were never commissioned, and the reason that was given is because the area they placed the septic tank, they said that the sea water was actually causing damage to it underneath
Oh,
because let's remember Dennery is also a low line
it's low line,
area.
yeah.
But I'm thinking, if somebody you come as a representative and you want the interest to put through the interest of your people, you make you try to put in that facility, you commission that facility, and you try to maybe put that septic tank somewhere else where you don't get you that is not waterlogged, that you don't the sea does not get access to it.
Yeah.
But when we try to be mischievous, I would say, I would go as far as saying that when we are lazy and we don't want to make other people shine, we feel that, it's probably better to let it crash and burn. It's better to let, things not work. Let things be in a mayhem
Yeah.
to show that,
To prove a point.
that was not my project. That was your project, and it's not working.
Yeah.
But you don't think, 20 years down the line, 30 years down the line, that thing can, if we actually make it work today, we can actually turn it to I wouldn't even say a tourist area, but we can turn it into something that locals, a pack that locals can come,
Because
and
I went there
people can
before.
get daily bread.
Yeah, I went over there before, and I think it was a good idea. People would go there to cool out, the breeze coming in, and what a beautiful place.
Definitely.
And I believe that because the former government estate, had invested taxpayers' money in that place, that the rep could have enhanced it, could have fixed it, strengthened it, help to make it better, because, it's for the people of Dennery and visitors who come into the area.
To the point now that one of the supportive walls that was holding that area together has fallen into the Tuvalu River.
Are you serious?
And yeah, definitely. And when that river gets upset, so when you have lots of rain, that thing crosses over, it goes into people's houses. Up to this day,
Yeah, it
that
comes even
happens.
up to Pauline's step area there.
Yeah, I have an aunt who every time there is a water event, she gets affected by it because the river has no mercy in that area. So when you have cracks and you have infrastructural faults, it will take advantage of it, and all the governments and all the taxpayers' money and all the funds that was given from wherever, I think is Caribbean Development Disaster Agency or whatever, is going to go to waste because of some people's ego. I mean, I'm seeing that's going to cause a problem. You're not seeing it. You don't have technical people who seeing it. And that's some problem that we have as a people. As a people, we procrastinate a lot. We wait for things to happen. We wait for the disaster to happen, and then we cry foul. We are not proactive. Right now, there it's the dry season. You hear nothing about desilting rivers.
I was just going to ask you about desilting that area, because it's very important that area be, that we pay attention to it, because too many of our people are being flooded out in Dennery.
I don't know the last time Dennery had a proper flood mitigation program. I don't know. I think I from what I have heard, I'm not too sure, I can be corrected, that there was somewhat of a program that they used to get sources from to to sponsor those things, because at the end of the day, it's people's structures and different things they have to pay them. I don't know again if it's the Caribbean Development Bank or if it's the
for flood mitigation or something.
Flood mitigation or something, but some program. There's always an excuse with this government. It's either they cannot give farmers salt on time, or they cannot get boxes, or they cannot get money to do general or basic disaster preparedness programs, or they don't know which shelters are open, they don't know which one is functional. There's always something. Honestly.
Because I was in Dennery maybe last year or 2 years ago, and while I was at the church, the old Dennery church, Seventh-day Adventist church, the rain started coming, we were inside, and before you know it, everywhere was flooding. They were flooding all over Dennery.
Yeah, so that is something, and even again, if my point of procrastination, we all know Denver is a low-lying area. We hear the statistics. We hear that in the future maybe the seafront area will not be there anymore, and people should be moving to higher lands and this different thing. Because I remember as a child, the Laboucherie area. You remember there being a laundry.
There was a laundry down there.
Area?
Yes,
right. And
by the Pentecostal church in front, almost in front there. Yeah.
No more. That is gone. The sea has taken that. So the sea has taken that. So there's no laundry. If you look there, you never even think there's no remnants of a laundry being.
That's where the ladies used to go and throw with their buckets every morning.
All right, that's
go and throw their poop or whatever you call it.
Yeah, so that shows you that with time, the sea is actually coming up slowly, encroaching on our lands.
We have rising water level.
You would think that governments, people who know better would not build in that area. And I don't want to put anybody on fire. I don't want to put any organization in hot water.
Yeah.
But there is plans to build the Dennery Credit Union on that area.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
But what is... wait a minute. So...
That is where the old Church of God used to be.
Yes.
You understand?
I know, right?
Why would you do that?
What's his name had a business there.
Okay.
I forget his name.
Courts or Simpex or one of them used to be there.
Courts or Simpex used to be there, yeah.
Used to be there, yeah. There was a church there before. But we know that area is dangerous. Why would we encourage people to keep building on the waterfront, whereas we know that the sea is encroaching slowly and slowly? Why would we do that?
I believe it's lack of vision, and because the DCA, of course, should have been looking at those areas low. We keep speaking about climate change and the impact to low-lying areas. Why would the government not have something in place to discourage people from building structures, especially Dennery there you're talking about?
Yeah. You have now 2 second-story buildings being built there, concrete on that sand. You have, and it's just sad because we've not had a storm that has really tested our beachfront, our areas since 2010. We've not had something to really test.
Yeah, because we did get the blunt of what hurricane that was. It was 2010.
Brett. Hurricane Thomas was 2010.
Yeah, because we had a major flood in there. Was it Debbie?
I think that was before my time, but yeah, I think is that 1992?
I believe so.
Yeah,
I remember we woke up a morning and Dennery was underwater.
Yeah. Well, even before Hurricane Thomas, we had the flood in Dennery, and Dennery was on the water the same way. I think that's when I started working. That's 10 years ago. In October, I think.
Before that, we had a major disaster in Dennery. But I must say, to tell you the truth, I believe that based on the work that Esther did in Dennery, it really helped to control the flooding in Dennery to a certain extent, because while I was there, the water came up, flooded some areas, and within seconds the water just it went back down. But before it would be stagnant.
It would have been stagnant. So
yeah,
the field, the Dennery field, was not only just tailored for the development of that area, sports in that area.
Somebody said 1993.
So around that time.
Yeah.
So Dennery, the field was also part of the flood mitigation program.
Also,
and again,
was it elevated?
It was elevated.
Oh,
and
wow.
The gutters were built and expanded and diverted to have the water from, because you have to know that Dennery is over 100 years. The community itself is over 100 years. And the way that the founders of the village built the community and its infrastructure was not to facilitate the rapid expansion of the community. In Dennery's heyday, there was no La Pointe, there was no bypass, there was no
Green Mountain,
Rocky Lane and Green Mountain, and what's the other one? Glavier.
I think it was after 1994 people started moving into Green Mountain.
Out and Hospital Road. Hospital Road was the furthest, and the main road passed through La Pointe to go to Castries.
Yeah.
It's in the 90s then, John Compton, 80s, 90s, that John Compton did the bypass. This is why Dennery, of the Dennery bypass. But that was recent infrastructure to develop the South, to develop St. Lucia. A lot of, if you look at where the Dennery Evangelical Church is, you'll realize the amount of rock surface they had to really dig make
through.
That's
right. You know your community, man.
Definitely. So Dennery and the community expanded in that sense that Rocky Lane and Green Mountain is a city on its own right now.
Yeah.
So when you think, because I'm also an environmentalist, so when you think of, flash flooding, and how the watershed and the water system works in a natural area, and Dennery is a bowl basically, like a bowl, broken, just like Soufrière broken in the front. So that's the access point. Dennery has two rivers, which is the Tualo River and the Mole River on each side of it.
Both sides, yes.
So when, like I was telling you, the community was the infrastructure was being built and stuff, Dennery was probably just high street and enjoying that area where you have the road going to the hospital, Newfield area. That was Dennery. And you'd get a few houses at La Pointe, you'd get a few houses. At that time, everybody thought of La Jablesse and don't go out of the outskirts of the area, the safe area. Because
and there were a lot of them in Dennery.
So at that time, the infrastructure wasn't as expansive as it is today. You didn't have so many houses. And going back to being an environmentalist, you would appreciate that if rain falls, you have a rain event.
Yeah.
That you have more trees, that's one. You have more cover, land cover. So the rain would fall, let's say rainfall for 30 minutes straight, going on to an hour. The soil, the mangrove, all these things would be able to take in that water. The soil, the ground, the trees, everything would take in that water as like a bank.
Yeah.
And then release it slowly that, it does not affect the village.
Yeah.
But with the advent of development, with houses, everybody have metal roof, aluminum roof.
Aluminum,
A lot of people have gutterings, and some don't have gutterings.
Yeah.
We live on the mountains. We live on every aspect of the village, from Green Mountain to La Pointe to the back, Clavier and Bois Joli. All the mountains have people, except for Baudelaire, because they have snakes on that side.
Oh, nobody wants.
Nobody wants to live Baudelaire on that side.
No.
So I think the only person who lives there is Mongreux.
Mongreux, he has a beautiful place.
Yes, he has a nice view. But apart from that, everywhere has houses now. So where does that water go? You understand? So as soon as it rains, immediately the rain is already off of the roof. It's already going in a gutter. It's already going down to the village.
That's
What
right.
stops it? What takes it back? What holds it? Nothing holds it. So you can have a flash flood happen in 30 minutes. You understand? The village flood up in 30 minutes because that is an overload of the system that was built in the 90s,
In the 90s.
80s. You understand? And all that had happened is, okay, you're living at Green Mountain, so they'll put a gutter Green Mountain.
Yeah.
The gutter going to where? By the secondary school in the La Boucherie. Okay, then you have another gutter in the La Boucherie that will take some water and bring it to by the multipurpose center. Okay, reach by the multipurpose center. Now what? You're getting water from by the church area, by all these areas meeting there. Where does the water go? What happens?
Yeah,
So
that's right.
you have to really try to think of how do we get that water out of a low-lying area, and that was a lot of infrastructural thinking there, because at the end of the day you have to think of what's the largest rain event we've had. What happens when that water reaches by the multipurpose center?
Yeah.
What and you don't want you try your best to not use pumps. You want for that water to naturally go
naturally
to the sea.
yes.
Yeah, but pumps were also part of the infrastructure plan because Dennery is a low-lying area, and you will appreciate sometimes you have high tide. And if there is high tide, nothing will make that water go down to the sea because it's high tide.
Right, and the worst mixture is a high tide and you have a major rainstorm or something.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, high tide alone will bring water into the village. You understand? So imagine having high tide plus a rain event.
A rain event,
a flood event. So
whole
at the end of the day, whole Kalpabo, you go into flood. So you had to think of how to, when I come to think about it, the Edmund Estefan and his team did a phenomenal job when it comes to flood mitigation in the community.
I realize.
Just like I tell you, Damian Greaves did a very good job when it comes to investing in water treatment. Well, not water treatment because it can be better, but the distribution of water.
Yes. We did have a major problem in Dennery back in the days.
We had a problem.
Yeah.
I remember my mom used to leave her pipes open and forget, and at 11 o'clock the house flooded already because we have no water. That's the only time it come 11, 1 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
And by the time for her to go and close the pipe, the whole area flooded, and to stand her foot in the cold water.
So Damian Greaves did his part too as a representative there in Dennery. And Mr. Este, when he came in, he built on.
Ran with it.
Yes, he ran with it and continued the progress.
When it came to footpaths, when it came to the development of spotting infrastructure, when it came to the development.
But Greaves did put down some work too.
Yeah, when it comes to flood mitigation.
Yeah.
I mean, give Jack his jacket. He did a very good job.
He did a good. But let me say before you move forward.
Yeah. So
now let me give you a history. I don't know if you really know that. Before we had the Daito, before we had that whole fisheries, the Daito, Dennery we never had all this major flooding. I don't know if you know that.
Okay.
I can't remember, to tell you the truth. The older folks will have to guide me on this one, but the time I came into Dennery, there was a Seventh-day Adventist school in the now Adventist church. I went to that school, and I don't know if you know Bernice Charles. She was the teacher at the time. Her father had the woodwork shop, right there next to that thing that Este built, the park in front there.
Okay.
The Charles, yes. I lived directly in front of the Daito. There was a house there where what's his name was doing number plates and cutting hair and all those things. In that building, I used to live. I think Estefan's mom used to live in a room in front of us. Well, she was living there with us, basically, in that same house. That's how far back I go. I used to play where Daito is now. We used to play in the sand right there, the beach, and there were stones. We used to baptize people right there. Between the stones, there was no Daito, and I didn't know of all this flooding at the time. So I can tell you, I have seen some growth, some development in Dennery, but I believe that we're still behind on where
Yeah,
we ought
definitely.
to be understanding the change in climate.
Definitely,
Yeah.
definitely. But I wouldn't say that DITO ever affected the flood mitigation process. I think it's one of the facilities that actually has minimal impact when it comes to flooding, because you will appreciate that the Tualo River is not, while it causes its damage, it is not as, it does not have as much root as the Mole River. So the Mole
Yeah.
River would carry more water, because you will remember that river stretches as far as Erad Estates and all the way up in the garden, in the heights, someplace they call Lefo Way,
Yeah,
and you
going up
know that
Belfashion area there.
Belfaston area
Because
where the
we have some,
waterfall,
so we have some farmlands in front of Belfaston.
right?
Across that whole thing going up to the hill
Yes.
is my
So
family's
that river
property.
goes as far up to, where we have the tallest river in the tallest waterfall in Saint Lucia. The in so in that area there, and goes all the way up. I think I climbed up Mount Jimmy once, and I will not say
It goes
I
deep.
figure, I don't figure it comes as far as Mount Jimmy, but it comes very close, because from Mount Jimmy you can see Dennery Village, you
That's
could see
going
the
up into
valley.
Belfaston area, deep up there, right? I
Yes,
remember
yes,
while we were building the Dennery Church on the hill, Bois Jolie, we used to go on Sundays. I used to drive my stepfather's pickup van to carry the folks up in the bush there, up in the hills, to cut the
right,
trees to build the rafters for the roof. And
right.
I mean, it is, we went up some hills, little roads, very dangerous place, folks. Dennery is beautiful, to tell you the truth, but there's a lot of, once there is rain, the amount of water you have coming into the
Water.
village,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
it is ridiculously ridiculous. So Dennery is, in a very unique situation there, but it's up to our governments, our leaders, to have a vision to you bring in experts, people are out there who can help you plan.
And you could see that the fort was placed in flood mitigation when it came to Dennery. But again, it's an uncompleted job. Okay, there was supposed to be something, I think, like a area like a wetland that was never done. You understand? To hold that water, because you cannot have all the water in a flood event coming to the village at once. You can
No.
build whatever you want.
That's a disaster.
It would not be able to take all at once. So you will always get the flooding. So there was supposed to be pumps, just like in Castries, there's pumps. There were supposed to be pumps, because there are times that, okay, you will have the high tides and there is nothing that can be done. The
Nothing
water
can be
will be
done.
blocked. So you would need those pumps. And none of that was done. So that's why when I tell you we know what is quality representation, we know what it is. And again, there was the communication. The community got involved, even though people didn't show up, but you were given a chance. You understand? You were given a chance to air your views. You were given a chance to see the plans. You were given a chance.
So
it was
right
up
now,
to
that
you.
don't happen.
But right now, you have what the youth tell you is a gas station. There was a plan, but the plan was clearly not followed. You understand? Something was just put up in haste to show that work is being done.
Wow.
You have the multipurpose center, after 4 years now, is being roofed. You understand? You have, I see they put in a footpaths all over the place now, only now. So
But let me
what was
ask you,
happening
why did
before?
ST allow the multipurpose center to be in that situation?
Again, I think sometimes you have to realize that you cannot juggle all your balls at once. I'm not putting words for him. I'm not saying that was
I
the
know.
reason.
I love
But
him.
if you have other things doing, for example, you have the field working on, you have XY being done at the time, you cannot do too much or everything will just fall apart. So you have to see at the time what you can do, put things in stages that, okay, I get this, I get that. And then you also have to remember that even during the tenure of Edmund Estefan, there was a time that Dennery was on the opposition. And you would know that being our politics, how it is sad as it is,
Got you.
once you're in opposition, you are at the mercy of those of whoever is in power.
In power, yeah.
And unfortunately, nothing gets done in your community. Your community is basically blacklisted. So you're just there. And people, they go as far as putting in candidates that they want to run your seat being the one that you have to go to, as I think they call it, caretakers. Why would I need a caretaker if I have a representative? I voted for my representative.
That's
Why
right.
do I need a caretaker?
Give him the
That's just
resources. Let him do the work.
utter disrespect.
Yeah.
Utter disrespect. You having a caretaker in a community when there is a duly elected representative. Who does that?
But the politics need to change in St. Lucia. There need to be reform in our government, the way government function, the way, central government and local government operate. There must be change. And you made a very important point as a young guy. You have a rep duly elected by the people, and then you have some caretaker person coming in bypassing the rep. And
it's unfair.
It seems like it happens on both sides, by the way. We got to try to stamp that thing out. We got to stamp that out so that we can have some more progress in our country.
But honestly, I feel, when it comes to politics on island, we really should look at reform. As a young person, I don't see our current politics, leading us anywhere better in the next 20 years, in the next 40 years.
Oh boy,
I
that's
just
bad.
see us being, chasing our tail, like, dogs, just chasing our tails, running behind our tails, doing the same thing over and over and over and expecting a different result. Because at the end of the day, it does not work. The current political structure does not work. And call it as it is. We may be looking at Trump and be saying, Trump is destructive, is disruptive to the status quo. But the status quo does not work. You understand? As much as we may not like it, the status quo globally does not work. It does not work for small island nations. It does not work for big nations. It does not work. Just like the politics in St. Lucia, the politics does not work. You understand? I honestly believe that the people should have a better say, have more say when it comes to the running of the affairs in St. Lucia. It is time. We don't have to put a president, but it is time that the people elect who is their prime minister. A prime minister cannot just come out from the free, okay, if I choose you, everybody put together and you get a prime minister. No. Let the prime minister come to the people and let the people know what he wants to do nationally. As a leader. And we decide who is the prime minister.
True.
And then we also should have the right to decide who is our representative. So if I vote for the SLP prime minister, I don't have to vote for the SLP rep. I can vote for the rep I see that is doing more for my constituency, or who plans make more sense. You understand? And hence you take out that nonsense whereby you have caretakers and that was not elected, duly elected. Because I elect who is my prime minister, and I elect who is my representative. So I feel more represented, because sometimes you have to realize sometimes that at the end of the day, the prime minister may not be the best candidate for the job, but is the most favored.
Favored, yeah.
You understand? But he's not the best candidate for the job. And the representative, you now facing a situation whereby you're battling with the representative who is utter failure, but then you like the prime minister. So what do you do in such a case? What do you do in such a case?
That's right. That's right. Let me ask you, right? I know that you're working tomorrow, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Good. So let's do some ratings now. I really appreciate you. I learned a lot from you, and I am happy as a young man hearing from you. So let's rate our leaders right now from 1 to 10. How do you see Mr. Prosper from 1 to 10? Well, how do you rate him?
Probably a 3.
Are you serious?
I'm very serious.
Are you being biased, really biased, extremely biased? Prosper is that bad?
I think there is room for improvement. I look at things as being half empty, I look at things as being, there's room for improvement.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, if I give you a 10 or I give you a 9, you'll feel you're perfect. And for me, I don't think you're perfect. You understand? I feel you're far from perfect. For somebody else, they may feel that you're somewhat okay and here and there. For somebody else, you may be great. But it's all based on what you're seeing in your eyes, what you're getting from it. Where your bias lies, you may say, I'm being biased by saying this. But I will also tell you that the prime minister has done a great job. So where would you say I lie in that situation? I feel the
Right.
Prime Minister has been doing a good job, but I feel my representative is horrible. So,
So
am
let
I
me ask you: Do you
biased?
see him? Do you see him a lot in the community?
I see him, but as I'm somebody, I work eight o'clock to 4:30 job.
Oh.
When I leave working castries, I come to Dennery. It's normally around 6 o'clock.
Mm.
So 6 o'clock, I'm tired. I want to sleep. I just look at news, go to bed.
Wow.
So there is little room for seeing
Yeah.
representatives or this or that. If they don't come to my home, if they don't come to my area per se,
So
I wouldn't say I see them. As opposed to somebody who's probably not working on the block, they would probably be able to tell you, well, I see the rep all the time, or I hardly see the rep. But I don't want to say that I see him because I'm always at work.
you're
The
always at work.
weekends, yeah, the weekends is my time.
Okay, I like that. So with your rating of 3, I know in Dennery the United Workers Party have not declared their candidates, but there's a number of names that are popping up. We have Benson, and we have Este out there also, who former representative. Let's look at right now Benson. What do you think of Benson? Do you see him as an individual who can be of consequence in Dennery?
That's Mr. Emmanuel you're speaking about, right?
Yes, Emil.
Emil.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So Benson, from what I know, he has worked in various ministries. He was the PS in the Ministry of Health. I think during the COVID pandemic, he was also the PS in the Ministry of Education, or
Mm-hmm.
if it's not education, I think youth and sports.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he was also the PS in, I don't know if it's legal affairs or in such. So I think he comes with a lot of knowledge, and I'm hoping that if he's the representative for the village, that it's not another how they call it,
Square
square
peg and round
hole or
hole.
square peg in round hole, that you have a representative who is multifaceted, that can actually do it. We can have a balance between community and the work of the people. So I think he would be a great candidate for the community. I know him to be a people's person. He's a sportive
And
individual,
he
so he
don't talk a
understands
lot.
the habit of the youth. And yeah, he don't talk a lot, but he works. You
He
find that
works.
Estefan didn't talk a lot, but he worked the same way. So at the end of the day, maybe we should stop putting in the bluffers, and maybe somebody who would
Some workers.
actually push the work and do what they have to do.
So
Put yeah.
you're saying that Benson is almost like Este. Don't talk a lot, but work a lot.
He'd work a lot,
Wow. So that
I think
sounds good.
He would be a good fit. Estefan also, I mean, he's been there. We've seen his work.
Yeah.
We've seen what he can.
And we have great
can
respect
prove.
for him.
And we have great respect for him.
Yeah.
We realize, that he has good ideas
Yeah.
for the community, and I wish him the best also.
Yeah. So, and I will support whoever the party choose in Dennery. We will support whoever that is. So let's look at the Prime Minister pair. How would you rate him from 1 to 10?
I would rate the Prime Minister as a 8.
8?
8.5. So yeah, the Prime Minister. I am one of those who underestimated the Prime Minister. Honestly, I was one of those who oh my gosh, he cannot speak. This guy is going to make a mess out of the country. But I feel he has done a pretty okay job when it comes to carrying the country forward. He worked on a lot of the projects that the former government had put in place, which is good. But again, there is a lot of room for improvements, on critical infrastructure. I look at, St. Vincent, when St. Vincent was building the airport, I think Chasney was there at that time, the former prime minister. And he said,
I believe so.
I don't think St. Vincent will have an airport anytime soon. Just brushed it aside. And mind you, St. Lucia was already talking about redeveloping Uranora International Airport.
Yeah.
Okay, St. Vincent has airport now.
Mm-hmm.
We've bridged. They inviting airlines all over. I'm sure Virgin Atlantic goes
Mm-hmm.
there, whereas we just lost Virgin Atlantic. And it's just sad. Now you have our prime minister going to Dominica and saying, ring the bell, or when they're ready, or we're ready, or whatever, some
Yeah,
nonsense.
that was kind of
Where
childish.
opening Dominica's international airport, an island they said that would never have an international airport because Dominica is so mountainous, whereas St. Lucia Airport is still there,
They have not touched
Antigua
that thing.
Airport, they've not touched anything. They put a tower, no, it's like the tower that was going up to heaven and it stopped. So at the end of the day,
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of room for improvement in our politics. There's a lot
Yeah.
of room for improvement but I'm not saying Pierre didn't do a good job. You understand? That's just one issue. But I'm not saying Pierre didn't do a good job, because you look at the situation with the elderlies. For years I've just had this fixed income, and you know putting an increase on the pensioners, because my parents are of pension age, so I'm talking from
Right.
personal experience
Mm-hmm.
that these people just have a fixed income, and the bills keep going up. Look, Flo is increasing their bills on the 1st of May. Everything is going up, fluctuating.
Is it 2.5%?
Water, I can't remember what the percentage is, but they're going to increase it. I think it's either 2.5%
I think
or
it's 2.5, yeah.
1.5%. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And what justifies that? What justifications do you have as a
Mm-hmm.
telecommunication? Then you have Wasco. They're
Mm-hmm.
talking about raising the tariffs, reviewing
Yeah.
those bills. Where is the support we have as a people, as that segment? I know I'm talking about youth, but I can also speak on the elderly. Where is that buffer that they have of their increase? They fix those that have NIC contributions. My father does not have NIC contributions. He's at the mercy of myself and whatever that comes into the household. And I'm
Yeah.
telling you, it's difficult. It's very difficult. So at the end of the day, he increased that little from it was a minuscule increase, but it was still something good to those who
It's an
don't
extra
get it.
something in the pockets.
Something. There are people who are getting NIC. We talk about
Yeah.
the SNS workers, but you have people who are getting NIC payments of just $300 a month, $200 a fortnight. How do you live on that when you have bus fare alone taking that? You don't even filter in the bills yet. You don't even filter in Wasco. You don't filter in UCLEC yet. So the little incremental increases were good. So I will give Jack his jacket. He did a good job when it comes to that. When it came to the minimum wage. I mean, for years you've been hearing about minimum wage, minimum wage, minimum wage, minimum wage. They use it like a football. No one's want to take on the bull by the horn. He actually took it on. You understand? So you give Jack his jacket. He did a good job in that sense. Although he didn't
So
want to own up to it.
he didn't want to own up to it, yes. But
Because
you
you
can.
want to put a minimum wage, and you're going to tell, yeah.
But what I should have done was to have you to rate him in different areas, and the 1.8 could have been in those two things that you just mentioned. As far as I'm concerned, Pierre gets a 4 or 5 in his leadership when it comes to health, security, transparency, controlling his ministers, knowing the issues around him, addressing the nation. I think he gets almost 3 to 4 on that, not an 8 for me.
Yeah, that's true. But I feel where it counts, it helps. Definitely, when you look at health and you look at national security, that's something that holds precedence in itself.
Because I believe he failed in those areas.
Yeah, if he actually took the bull by the horn when it came to health. So, for instance, and I always say that as a young person, you have, okay, whatever happened in the past, you're going to build the old St. Jude's, fine. You're going to build the old St. Jude's, fine. You put tons of money in the old St. Jude's. But then you're going to say that the hospital in Castries is inundated. Okay, EU is inundated. They don't know where to put patients, blah, blah, blah. Okay? But then you have 2 buildings in Viewfort. You have an old one that you invested in, you have a new one. That so much money has been invested in it. Why don't you say, okay, Let us build the old St. Jude's. Let us develop the old St. Jude's. And the new St. Jude's, the new awards, let's have it there as, a standby, an overflow. So whenever OKEU is overflowing and they don't know what to do with patients, you just transfer them to St.
Transfer
Jude's.
them, yeah.
Why don't you have one system? Why do we need two hospitals, two separate systems? Have one system. St. Lucia is a small place. You understand? OKEU and St. Jude should be one system in place. So if you have a bill at OKEU, you have a bill at St. Jude. You can't run away from it.
So wait a minute. So it's
operator-
two separate systems we're talking about here.
Yeah, it's two separate systems. It's two separate.
Okay, but and I appreciate your I mean that's your honest opinion, of course, and I realize that some of the viewers are saying, boy, I took back my nice comments about you because you said Pear God, you rate him an 8. Some of them may be thinking of giving him a 0 as far as I'm concerned. But you're entitled to your opinion, and I respect that. As a young person, you're speaking your mind, and I will encourage people to just listen a little more. I'm not going to put you on the spot anymore for you to tell me. We're not going to rate anyone else. The opposition leader, how do you rate him?
The opposition leader, honestly, in the first years of him being in office, for me personally, if I had to vote for him again, I would say I would not vote for him again. Okay, as a young person, I would say I would not vote for him again because the opposition leader was always overseas, and I used to get jokes at my old job. Where is your prime minister? Where is your prime minister? What country is he in today?
But what he was doing overseas, he was looking for resources for the country.
That's what he says. But
that's what was done because we saw what he brought back to St. Lucia. We saw the benefit, the fruits of his travel. And remember again, when he took over from Kenny Anthony, basically Kenny Anthony handed him almost nothing. Kenny said, look, something happened. I couldn't borrow. So he now having to source funds overseas. Bringing, and we saw people were willing to loan him monies. He were able to pull the country back from the brink. And as soon as he got it back from the brink, he went straight into a major disaster called COVID.
Now, what I will tell you, and I actually have structured my conversation to actually tell you, the problems that we face as young people. And one of the problems we face is disinformation. Okay, you don't know what to believe anymore.
And I think that's what you might have settled on earlier in the case of Shasta, because there was a lot of misinformation around him.
Definitely. There was a lot of disinformation.
Right.
And you'll find the engine of the United Workers' Party was not efficient when it comes to communication at all. So you now he left a vacuum open to people wondering, what is the Prime Minister doing in Canada? What is the Prime Minister doing in England? Then 1 minute the Prime Minister is in the United States, he's in Texas. Then remember Beaufort Jean had that they killed Beaufort.
Yeah, and he went up there to be with the family.
And he went to Texas and all of those things.
Which was a good thing.
Which was good, but to a people who I guess who did not even appreciate that, and all of those things. It left a bad taste in my mouth. But where the Prime Minister really shined and to me became the Prime Minister of St. Lucia is during COVID. I saw a totally different individual. I saw somebody who commanded, the sympathy of a people, of a country, of a region. I saw a man who worked with Mia Motley, although I don't even think Mia Motley is on the same side. Mia Motley is more, I think, of a liberal sort of government, whereas with Shasta is more conservative.
She is.
You find that these people work very well. She basically handed off the regional response to COVID when it came to tourism to Alan Chastanet, and she handled the rest. And, it was a partnership. You saw a prime minister that was in waiting. Even while he was there, I find he was in waiting, and he really shined during COVID.
So
you
you're
know.
saying based on the misinformation and disinformation, you saw an issue. But then as this same Prime Minister, Mr. Shastin, is faced with a major disaster, he was able to redeem himself in the work that he put out. Because the truth is, the man worked like a horse, even got sick, and work and saved thousands of St. Lucians.
Yeah, save St. Lucian's livelihood, save lives. You know, St. Lucia had a very good response to COVID when it came. I remember when we had that first American Airlines flight from Miami to St. Lucia.
That's during COVID.
My sister said, y'all are screwed. Y'all are screwed. Everybody shutting down and y'all opening up. Are y'all crazy? But you know, things were put in place. You know, there was COVID centers and there was so many things that was, you know, put in place for the control of this, I would say, vector that, you know, and that's why I can understand when the Prime Minister tells Mr. Pierre, do a command center when it comes to crime, because you could have seen the structure, the layers, the things that were put in place, things were well thought out, you know, that it wasn't haphazardly, you understand? So he really outshined at that point. And honestly, I will tell you, I really didn't see the last election happening. I think the way it happened, I didn't see that coming. But I would say maybe St. Lucian's also got really. I think two things happened. St. Lucian's thought that, you know, because of the government's response and everything and how they were working, that they already had the election. So there was no need to, you know, kill yourself and go and vote, because then people win already. And it was
so you didn't go out?
I voted. I did vote. But, you know, I think that on the minds of people, it was that, you know, they have that already. Why
they have it? So
myself? Yeah.
So we're not going out. We're not bored. And plus we're scared of
the Labour Party. Yeah.
Right.
Labour
and plus
Party
we're afraid of COVID.
Yeah, we are scared of COVID. You know me, I couldn't get myself in danger for what politics. Then people win already. I kill myself. And the Labour Party, well, they energized their people. They were having matches and stuff all through COVID when there were clear restrictions and people were trying, and they politicized everything, made everything look like, you know, everything that was good was turned bad, everything that was bad was turned good. And this is why I will tell you, at this point, St. Lucia, you will find it very difficult for St. Lucians to come together and to work together, because the seed that was implanted in St. Lucia during COVID, you know, the chickens now have come to roost. So all of this information and all of this, you know, propaganda, all of this, you know, deception and inner workings to distort the truth now. Now we have no truth. What is the truth? People don't know what to believe as the truth. You know, there are people who say they don't listen to news anymore because the news has become so biased. HTS is Labour. DBS is leaning UWP. Hot 7 is leaning UWP. NBC is Labour. Choice
Hard
is
labor.
Labour. I try to listen to Choice sometimes and HTS, and I only shake my head. I only laugh because you could see this is as if, you know, that is just an extension of the Labour Party. I don't even say the government of St. Lucia, an extension of the Labour Party. You know, Prime Minister Pierre is working on this and that, and he did. And you listen to the structure of this sentence, and there is no objectiveness in that. So, as a young person, you think I'm going to sit down and listen to this rubbish? I prefer go and look at Facebook and say, okay, that happened, and check mark and move on with my life.
So,
and that's the wrong way to go, because you don't get the real truth out of the news.
So how do you see? How do you see as a young person? How do you see Richard Frederick? Are you afraid?
Richard Frederick once actually threatened me to sue.
He threatened to sue you?
Yeah, he sent me a post once and said, "I hope you have deep pockets."
Wow.
So I think that I'm not an idiot. I'm not an idiot. I took that to basically trying to sue me. And that was once because of a comment I made on Facebook. I don't know. And you know, these people have a lot of enablers who are all over. You know, you cannot say anything. There's no such thing as free speech anymore.
Yeah.
Whenever the Labour Party is in power, there's no such thing as free speech. So these people probably tagged me on something I said. What did I say so much? That Richard Frederick slapped Stevenson King. That's all I said. You know? And he asked me if I saw that he slapped Stevenson King and this and that and that. And the man threatened to sue me.
Yeah.
So I had to take that post. But at the end of the day, you know, as people growing up, you know, you will get things wrong. You will say things sometimes in the heat of the moment. But at the end of the day, as grown-ups, you have to learn to have restraint. You understand? It's not everything that move around you have to take on. You have to pick your battles. And I think in time Richard Frederick will get to know that, because at the end of the day, you are one person. You're not the prime minister. You know, and even the prime minister does not own St. Lucia or St. Lucian.
That's
we
right.
all have the freedom to do what we want, say what we want within the bylaws of the law. So when, because you have a little bit of education and you feel that you can threaten people because of that, and make, you know, try to make subjects of people because of nonsense, you know, karma comes right back.
That's right.
It comes back.
And I totally agree. I totally agree with you.
It's not owned by Richard. And honestly, I work in Castries every day, and I'm embarrassed by Castries. I'm embarrassed to go to Castries. You just like Dennery sometimes can be embarrassing to see how the community has been left to just left to die. I think Castries is another city that has just been left to die. I don't know why tourists come to Castries, and I see why. You know, vendors come day in, day out and tell you that they see the tourist boats coming, but people don't spend. Because at the end of the day, Castries is embarrassing to walk. A little rainfall, one place that floods more than Dennery is Castries.
Oh, yeah.
Okay?
Yep.
One place that floods more than Dennery is Castries. And the old beaten down buildings, the CDCs are horrible. You know, there is no life in the city. The city looks depressing, you know. All the buildings in Castries need a makeover. You understand? I feel, you know, when it comes to our infrastructure, you know, we really should have embraced our French culture, because you could look at the buildings where the development bank is, where the registries and these things. And these buildings look so nice, colorful, playful. You understand? That is the Caribbean. This is what people come to when they come to the Caribbean, to relaxing colors and a peaceful atmosphere. But we want to build up high rises and live those. You have this building opposite Bank of St. Lucia. They're not cleaning it. It's all glass, but it's dirty. You know, it's making the city hot. Then you have buildings that they're not taking care of. They don't paint it. The buildings look run down.
And many of
then
them are moldy. A lot of mold. Yep,
mold.
exactly.
You have buildings that they just keep mashing up, and there's no clear plan. You know, you'll mash up you were the ones who fixed up the High Court in Castries. Then you'll go to demolish it to build another building.
And can't build a building.
All the courts in St. Lucia supposed to fit in that one area, making it overshadow the Catholic Church. And now you cannot build, you cannot do anything again because the Catholic Church said something. What did the Catholic Church say? Or is it that you cannot build because you know if you build it, it's going to sink? You know, you sound
like you're going to change your approval rating for the Prime Minister by the time I'm finished with the show.
again, remember we're talking about Richard Frederick.
Yes,
Richard Frederick and the Prime Minister are two different people. It's like the Holy Ghost. You understand? The Holy Ghost, God and Jesus, all three in one.
No, Jesus not in that one.
Richard Frederick Phil, he's the Prime Minister, so he's God. He's the Prime Minister, and he's the mayor. So at the end of the day, he's God, he's the Holy Spirit, and he's also Richard.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, it's like the Trinity in just Richard Frederick. He wants to be the mayor and tell people what to do, how to do, when to do it. He wants to be the Prime Minister to tell who getting contract, who not getting contract, who this, who that, and he wants to be himself, where he's the representative for Castries.
Yep.
So at the end of the day, you know, and Castries is really not benefiting from such an individual. I don't see what the people in Castries,
and that's why change is coming.
Yeah, I don't see why they're seeing anything in such an individual.
That's right. I really
really wish Ross give him a run for his money in that.
Rush, I believe Rush will give him a run for his money. And we got to just give Rush the support, to do that. Let me just say something, just highlight a few things that I learned from you as a young person with an independent mind. And, my only concern is your ratings, and then you allowing people to bamboozle your cervelle to the point where you ask it, why the Prime Minister is traveling, But, and that, one thing I gather from you is that propaganda is real, misinformation is real, and a lot of our young people got caught up in the propaganda that was around Mr. Chasney. During that time, there was a deliberate attempt to dirty him as much as people could. So everything that he did, there was some mud that was thrown at it, even though it was very important. It was very important. So I go back to the propaganda, and I am sorry that you got caught up. I would say you got caught up in that type of rhetoric, being bombarded all over the place with,
And honestly, it's not only me. You have a lot of young people who, they would just withhold their vote. You have three options during the election.
Yeah.
You vote for the candidate who is currently in power.
Mm-hmm.
You vote for the opposition in protest,
Mm-hmm.
or you just withhold your vote.
Withhold, and we had a lot of withholding.
And you have a lot of withholding.
Yeah.
You have a lot of voting in protest. And I may dare say that St. Lucia has not really voted for a prime minister since 2001.
Mm-hmm.
You understand? Because that's when the Labour Party really won. After 1997, they won in 2001, right? And then also won in 2000. Did they win in 2006? The UWP won in 2006.
Mm-hmm.
So that would mean after 2006, UWP won. Then in 2011, the SLP won. From 2011 to 2016, was it 2016? Yeah, UWP won. Then from 2016 to 2021, the SLP won. So St. Lucia has not really voted for a prime minister for a government from 2001. They've been switching left, right, because at the end of the day, dissatisfaction, protest, vote, frustration, people are not living up to what they say. Kenny Anthony come in and cry for you, then he doing the same things he say he's not going to do. Then you have, John Compton pass away, who we gonna vote for? Okay, King come, they make a nonsense of King.
But let me ask you, what do you think of King's King during his leadership as Prime Minister of the country? To me, I wasn't feeling him, the truth.
He never led the government of St.
Well, it sounded like he was being led.
The government of St. Lucia was basically being financed by the Taiwanese country. As far as I look at it, everything that was being done was done through Taiwan. Okay, so I don't know who was the leader, but it definitely wasn't King. And fortunate for us, we averted a recession. He was able to stabilize the country through Taiwan's expense.
Right.
But at the end of the day, it's just sad that we as a country keep taking Taiwan for such a ride. It's sad that, because if it was China, we would not get away with it. We definitely would not get away with it. And I honestly wish we had and continue to use Taiwan to the full benefit of St. Lucians and St. Lucia.
And stay away from the Chinese.
One of these things could be through the development, and I had written it down, through the development of a university here in St. Lucia.
Yeah.
You understand? You have selected people at this Labour Party, and UWP do it as well. Select people to go all the way to Taiwan, a whole day away. You understand? Take flight to get to Taiwan. Whereas you have these people coming down here. Why don't you set up a university? I look at the Grenivier Secondary School as being a prime location for an agriculture university.
I thought they had one. Was it Sir Arthur Lewis who had a farm?
Sir Arthur Lewis, there's a farm there in the valley at Grenivier. But even that is not being utilized to the best that it could be.
Mhm.
And with SAFA, remember, SAFA now would not be specialized in agriculture. You
Mhm.
have different facets. You have engineering, you have nursing, you have agriculture, you
Mhm.
have those children who doing the post-secondary education, keep and all these different things. So if you have a university that is specifically tailored to the development of agriculture
Mhm.
in St. Lucia, the government give them the dedicated lands that they can actually work on, let's say, new species of climate resistant food. For example, bananas. We
Mhm.
know after storm our bananas are down. We know we are currently fighting the black Sigatoga disease and all these different things. How is it that we can make our food more climate resistant? What foods can we introduce into our country as a small island developing state that could help bolster the development of our agriculture? And we know agriculture is equal to your health. Your health is equal to your wealth. So everything is tied up with each other. So if we improve our agriculture, we improve on our health, we are better people. We improve on our education. Now we get technical people that we can export to the region. We can export to the world because Taiwan has a university here where we train in our people, our local people, both the teachers, both the students, to be better at their skill. So we have more young people like myself who are willing to go to that school, willing to get trained, willing to have, backyard gardens that can actually produce food for a sustainable future, that we could have, high rise that have agriculture in it and have food in it and be producing food, sort of like a science lab, that we can utilize our water, our land efficiently, that we don't have to always be planting on our mountains and making our mountains weak, so
Mhm.
that when there's a flood event, there's a hurricane, we lose so much land mass because all those lands cannot be regained. That take billions of years to produce and give us fertile land. That we can find other ways of creating fertilizers and things that would be more beneficial to us. We have a cancer pandemic in this country and no one's talking about it.
Oh yeah.
Everybody knows
Yep.
somebody who died with cancer.
That's
Everybody
right.
has a name or somebody who died with cancer.
True,
What is
true.
causing those things? We don't know.
Yeah.
And most probably is our food, is our water. So at the end of the day, where do we go from there? You understand? So all of those things are tied to each other, and all of those things can help us have a better future. We don't have to be dependent. Yes, our prime minister is right. We don't have to be dependent on exports of food and stuff. But what are you doing as a prime minister to help bolster that and help people like me feel as if I have a stake in the agriculture sector, have a stake in my future, help have a stake in securing the development of my country?
Well, the
At the
prime
end of the
minister
day,
is a lost case right now. Seems to be missing in
definitely,
action on most of the
definitely,
important issues in the country. Very sad at a stage where you need strong leadership. We have global challenges. We have the UK on our backs, the US on our backs. We have tariffs from 10% on the country. We have tariffs on China that will affect our citizens. We have a CIP. We have CIP malpractice, major issues in the country. So you have a prime minister who is missing in action, and it seems like the country is on autopilot now, and what you get is insults and also the nastiness in our country. And I believe it's time for a reset in the
father was
country.
a police. I'm not a police. My father is a police.
I'm not a police. So
I'm not a police.
So
When
I think
have
your
UV
rating was from 1 to 100, and you graded it. You
1 to
rated
10.
him 8 out of the 100. But honestly, as a young,
I should bring that down to 50%.
I know, but I'm happy that you were here. I saw some of the viewers a little thing because it sounds like you are supporting the prime minister of the country, but I don't get that from you. Of course, I see you just trying to, be balanced as you can.
You have to give Jack. You have to give Jack his jacket.
But that's okay.
There are certain things there in life you have to realize where people do things and they've actually taken leadership in some areas, and then
And where they
can
fail.
work,
Yeah, but
where they fail and where they can be better. And I like looking at things as being half full, or room for improvement, and saying that you're a lost cause. But what I realize this prime minister is lacking, honestly, is that power, that ability to listen. You understand? To listen and to get a pool of advice and get get quality advice out of there. That is
well,
where he's lacking.
well, any prime
And
minister that don't listen, I will tell you, is a failed and a bad leader. Any leader that don't listen is a zero. Let's take one call and then we'll go. All right.
all right, no problem.
Call you on the air, Caribbean American News Media Platform.
Hi, good evening, Pastor Garfield.
Hey.
How are you? Good evening to your guest. I didn't really catch his name. Hello?
Yes, go ahead. We're listening.
Yes, and good evening, of course, to your listeners and viewers. Pastor Garfield, earlier I was listening to your conversation, but I had to switch off your discussion. I had to switch off to do something else.
Mm-hmm.
But I've been thinking about St. Lucia quite often now, not just from a political perspective since I'm involved in politics, but just from a citizen, And when we look around, we are so tribal. We have found ourselves in this world of tribalism, which has been created by politicians who are unable to grow the cake so that everybody can get a slice. And so, because they're either unable to do so or they're too lazy to do so, they don't have the vision, they don't have the imagination, they don't have the intention, then they need to be able to feed only their own. So they've got to find reason to exclude a certain percentage of the population so that the cake that they have, they can share among their own people.
That's right.
Hence the division. So we have, when a political party gets in power, there are some people driving buses. They drive the school, they're in the school bus program. If the UWP gets in power, then the drivers are selected, the UWP supporters. The UWP is voted out of office. Those drivers are removed, and SLP supporters become the drivers. The same with the elderly care program and many of the programs that we have in St. Lucia. So if you're a contractor, or you're a mason or something of that nature, when UWP in power, you might get a little contract, and then UWP goes out of power, and SLPs now get the contract. So it becomes a cycle, and that cycle is based on the politicians are not being able to create enough so that both sets of people, which are just one people, but we tend to divide them on color in politics, can feed, can eat. So we always have a set of people who are jealous or angry against one set because you always can say, Lucia, if you're not wearing a red shirt, you can't eat, or if you're not wearing a yellow shirt, you can't eat. And it is now translating into other essential services where, for example, even the police system tends to be that way too. So, for example, certain things Labour Party supporters do when the Labour Party is in power, nothing happens to them. But if an SLP does, a UWP does exactly the same thing.
That's right.
They are accosted by the police. It goes into the judicial system, where, for example, very blatantly, a judge accused the Attorney General of interfering in a court matter, so much so it caused the judge to recuse himself. And it's been years now, cases that have been going on for so long. So what do we have? We have justice delayed in the country.
That's
How
right.
bad can it get? How bad can it get? Pastor Galko, I just looked at some pictures earlier, and I saw our Prime Minister, Mr. Philip J. Pierre, and the gentleman who is the General Manager or CEO of the CIP in St. Lucia, McLeod Emmanuel.
Oh, yeah.
In a photograph with this same gentleman who was recently arrested and has been suspended, not suspended, he's been removed from the St. Kitts and Nevis CPI program. This gentleman holds a St. Lucian passport. And some people see nothing wrong with that the government, up to now, there was a cabinet press briefing yesterday. Nobody spoke on it, neither the Minister for Investment, nor the Prime Minister, or the Minister responsible for Foreign Affairs, or even the chairman of the CIP, who we don't know who that person is, neither the CEO of the CIP. But can the Prime Minister come out and speak out against this gentleman when they were so chummy, buddy in a picture? Do we know what cements these relationships? There are so many questions and no answers. When we look at these things, we are divided in the way we look at this because of our political affiliations, our political allegiances. We compromise our principles. We compromise our ethics. We compromise our integrity on the altar of partisan politics. And that cannot be good for our country. That cannot be a good example to set for our young people. We are asking for young men and women to join the political fray.
That's right.
When they do so, they openly lie to the nation. Look at what Jerry Lyer did. Look at how he allowed himself to be manipulated to lie about the assistance that was rendered to him by the government of St. Lucia when Alan Shaftney was Prime Minister. It wasn't Alan Shaftney who helped him. It was the government of St. Lucia. So why did he have to lie about that? Again, tribalism. We've got another young politician who now he has proclaimed publicly that his role model is Richard Frederick. Now that's his opinion. This is not a laughing matter because this gentleman has acquired in the short space of time since he's been a politician multiple properties.
Yep. And nobody sees anything wrong with that.
Properties that he cannot afford based on his salary as a minister of government. And St. Lucians need to understand the mathematics of this. Banks don't give you money beyond what your income or your debt to income ratio can afford, can permit you. So how could somebody acquire properties which are now somewhere stretching beyond $1 million in value or millions? Multiple properties, yet St. Lucians or a set of St. Lucians are quiet about it. Why? But they were so vociferously loud when Gail Rigobert bought and was renovating her villas, right? But those same people, where are they? The mangrove in canals. It's been destroyed by Caribbean Galaxy in that development, that CIP development.
But Kenny was complaining on the Alan Shaftney about the same mangrove thing that he wanted to destroy back in the days.
So my question is, has the mangrove changed, or Has the principle changed? What has changed?
Yeah.
Emma Hippolyte and the Super Labour campaign was supported by people of the Labour campaign around the country when they laid the turf, the artificial turf, down in Soufrière. And I know that because I was intimately involved. They made people believe that it was cancer causing.
That's right.
They cited numerous reports. They posted them on social media. They took them off. They Googled them, took them off the internet, and posted them. They flooded the internet with reports and case studies which demonstrated or proved or associated cancer with artificial turf.
Mm-hmm.
In the less than 4 years since Emma Hippolyte has been in as the parliamentary rep in Soufrière, they have held more events on that turf in 1 year than the UWP ever held. But of course, when the UWP laid that turf, it was during the COVID period or just before COVID. So UWP couldn't have had that many events there. But they've had all sorts of events. They have invited international artists to perform there in Soufrière Jazz. So what is it? Is it we have one law for a set of people and another law for another set? Is it in St. Lucia we have one set of principles for one set of people and another principle for another thing? Well, I may be stammering because it's so obnoxious to think about that our people are so hypocritical just because of their politics.
Mm-hmm.
Why can't people call a spade a spade? Why can't people call the CIP the mismanagement of CIP in St. Lucia what it is? It's corruption. It's mismanagement. Whether you're Labour or UWP, that is mismanagement. And the very vexing issue for me is when you bring it up, somebody will come in and say, "Oh, what about the $7 million for the vaccine?"
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Apples and oranges. Alan Shasley, one may have an opinion, different opinion, on the action that Alan Shasley took to have given $7 million to buy the vaccines, right? Mm-hmm. He has given his moves on it. One may disagree with that. The point is, there is a contract. Part of the money has already been retrieved. We know where the money is. We know who's responsible. And they've given an explanation. And even the Prime Minister, who's the Minister of Finance, whose job now is to retrieve that money, to recover that money, has also endorsed or confirmed that what Alan Shasley said about the money and its whereabouts is true.
That's right. And that's why I said in my opening segment that Mr. Shasley, also the MSR group, were proven right based on the events that are unfolding before us, such as the blacklisting of this company.
Solutions will be ultimately responsible for whatever the consequences that we will face in the near future through the mismanagement of the CIP by this government.
Yep.
Because solutions in our silence, in our pessimistic attitude towards things, and in our partisan politics, the myopia, the blindness, the short-sightedness that we suffer because of our partisan politics, we will no longer be able to blame the people who actually are responsible, which is the government of St. Lucia.
Yep.
We'll have to start blaming ourselves because we have never forced the government to account.
Yep.
And then when people like Alan Shasley takes action through the courts to compel the government, in an attempt to compel the government to account to us St. Lucians, there are St. Lucians who stand aside and say, "Oh, Alan Shasley is against St. Lucia." How could you join Ernest Hilaire when he makes that statement? But it is Ernest Hilaire who brought in a vehicle to St. Lucia that was not in his name, yet he was able to change the registration and place it in his name without submitting the requisite documentation. And very recently, a customs officer was arrested, charged, and found guilty of facilitating such an action. Where is the law in St. Lucia? So it means that it could be that we allow, I listened to the filth spewed on that radio station, MBC, television station in the morning, Zafenu, where I don't necessarily always agree with the lady they were attacking, but not because we do not agree with someone do we have to descend to the depth, to castigate.
That's right.
To humiliate, to insult a fellow St. Lucian because they hold a different opinion from us.
Yeah.
Definitely. And so I'd like to end, Pastor Garfield, by saying something which I know is not going to make me popular. But I'm not running for votes. Pastor Garfield, there is night and day between Alan Chasney and Philip J. Pierre.
All the time.
Philip J. Pierre and this Labour Party administration is a threat to St. Lucia. Every sector of our society is under duress. And a lot of it is self-inflicted because of the government, either because of their negligence or because of their deliberate actions or because of their poor policies. Okay? And St. Lucians tend to accept that.
That's right.
Now, the other thing is, I would like to tell people, and this is why I'm going to become unpopular tonight, our United Workers' Party supporters. Everybody knows, those who know me, they know I'm a UWP. And that's all I've been in my entire life in terms of St. Lucian politics, from John Compton. I can say I'm very outspoken. I'm not one of those who shies away from speaking my opinion, whether it means to criticize the government or on certain occasions to criticize my own party, wanting them to do better. And especially at this time, it is so important for our party to do better, to do the best that it can, to go over and beyond, because St. Lucia needs rescuing.
And I can say we're getting there.
However, if somebody, a member of this party, a supporter of this party, a well-wisher of the party, is not impressed or convinced that we are doing what we need to do to get there, why should we hurl slurs and insults and badmouth that person? Why should we do that? Why should we badmouth our own? We can criticize our own, but we should not hurl slurs. We should not insult. So one day, Pastor Garfield, everybody loves him because he's talking out against Labour. One day he says something against UWP. All of a sudden, we turn around and we attack Pastor Garfield. Don't we want his vote? Don't we want his friends' vote? Don't we want his family's vote? What's wrong with us UWPs?
Yeah, but
let me give us the solution to this election. Forget about all the rural we involved in and criticizing each other. Let me tell you, us UWPs, what we need to do to win this election. We had 37,481 good votes. There were many spoiled votes. We don't know who they belong to. But 37,481 that were counted for the UWP. The Labour Party had around 49,000, including the independent fake Labour candidates who were Labour candidates. If each one of us who voted UWP in the last election bring one person with us to vote for UWP who did not vote for UWP in the last election, we will win by a landslide.
And will we win?
we will win by a landslide once we do that. So each one of us who are UWP who is going to.
Okay, sorry about that. Folks, we had something, I think something went wrong there. Let's see if we can, that call is going to come back. But I know you got to go to work, and I want to thank you so much.
But
Do you want to
just to
go ahead and
recap,
say something? Go ahead.
yeah, just to recap what the caller said, I appreciate what he said about, going against sometimes the stance that your party has. Sometimes you want to support the party, but you have to put your country first. Your country cannot come second to the party. You cannot be protecting the victory at the expense of your country. You cannot be, as Shelton Daniel said, if there was a sickness, a disease called the Labour Party, he would be infected with it.
Oh, wow. He said that?
Yeah, in some
Wow.
respect.
Wow.
You cannot say these kind of things, because if there is anything that you should be, St. Lucian first. God first, St. Lucian second, and party maybe fourth or fifth. But I would hope that family made
Wow.
made that ticket before party. You understand? Because we know there are families who get angry with each other, who fight with each other for politics, and that should never be. Blood is always thicker than water.
Than water,
You
yes, that's
understand?
right.
When things are down, who you go to? Your brother, your sister, your mother, your father. Not the party, not the comrades. Case in point, what happened in Miku when what was highlighted with the man who died, who passed away, at OKEU or at his home after his legs or whatever being severed. You understand? The comrades, the party, they didn't care. He was not part of the boys club and
Right.
the two girls club. He wasn't part of it, but he supported them. He had his.
Oh, that's a gentleman who lost both legs
Yeah, in
and was
Miku.
sent home, and Jeremiah
he
had this back and forth. Yeah.
He supported them. He had them on his bumper as a bumper sticker. But at the end of the day, where were they when you needed the support?
That's right.
Obviously, you have to go back to your family, to those who are blood and what blood with you. They're the ones who really care about you.
Yeah.
So then that is where you have to put your country. Your country has to always surpass every single aspect. If I am a minister in the ministry of whatever, and I'm being told to do something that is against my morals as
That's
a Christian,
right.
and second, against my country,
That's
I
right.
have to put my country first.
You got to put it first.
You have to applaud people like Sarah Flood Bobre, who put country first, who put her religion first, and said that enough is enough, and she would not do certain things. You have to have the guts to do that.
And you got to agree too, right? As you're saying that Mr. Alan Shastri, I believe that he put his country first in fighting
Definitely.
this whole CIP situation. He fought it with his own money. And I mean, he's called a white man a dog and all kind of not St. Lucian, but he stood up for St. Lucia with his own funds against this CIP sickness, and we are now seeing that he was right all along.
Yeah, but again, you have the propaganda of the opposition telling you that. Up to this morning, I was saying they were talking
the
about
labor.
there were ads about, CIP is the future of this country and we must all protect CIP. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Protect CIP? I'm
We
like,
have issues.
I don't even know anything about CIP. Y'all are the ones benefiting from CIP.
That's
Y'all are
right.
the ones reaping the monies from CIP.
That's right.
Y'all are the ones having all the different accounts and benefiting from CIP.
That's right.
Why isn't the CIP money going into the consolidated fund? Why are those monies not being accounted for? Why are reports being given late? Why are we having so many issues out there with that program, to the point that the EU government and the US government are giving us trouble?
That's right.
So if that's something I want to protect, why isn't there more laws and more stringent laws against who we give our patrimony to? There was those big issues about TOR King and lands. There was this big issue about, I think, what, not Galaxia, but the one they had up at Cape State and NIC.
Oh,
and
that
all these
was
big
Cabot.
cabots, all those issues about our passports, our land, and our monies, and all those things. And right now, all of that is just being thrown to the wind. And that goes back to what the caller was saying about why is it when one party is in power, certain things that are unheard
That's right.
of or should not ever happen, or is so difficult to comprehend. When it's the other side, it's so easy.
And by the way, there are beach access that are being blocked right now
Definitely.
in St. Lucia, and none of those voices, not Pear, not Richard, not any one of those guys are out there, saying anything about it.
Underneath Gopita, they had that whole thing.
Let's take one call before you go. I will go now because I know you're late. Caller, you on the air. You're the final call. I hope we don't have an interruption on this. Go ahead, caller.
Yes, Brother Garfield, I wouldn't stay long tonight. I just wanted to rate Philip J. Pierre. I listened to the young man speaking. I'm also a young man. I'm 28 years old. I'm from Castro Central as well. And I want to say on behalf of the young people that we give Philip J. Pierre a 0. And the reason why we give Philip J. Pierre a 0, let us just watch on the international scale. We have lost our bananas to England. The banana industry has crashed. Agriculture has crashed. He's from Dennery. He should know that. We have lost, we may be on the verge of losing our visa to America. We are on the verge of losing our visa access to the European Union. When it comes to healthcare, every day a baby is dying at the hospital. Mm-hmm. Every day people are going on Facebook and ask for donations for people who are fighting cancers. JP has borrowed $265 million to fix up the hospital. He went back to the old hospital, and it is not done yet. 4 years. I listened to an interview with the health minister where he's stating that what is going on in the the hospital in Beaufort. The hospital, what's his name, Alan Shasting was going to build would have a helicopter service to it. Mm-hmm. So thousands of people who have died over the years have died because of blood, because they're losing too much blood. A helicopter would only take 5 minutes anywhere across the island, would come pick up a patient and bring them to the hospital. The hospital at ONQ Hospital was built by Kenny Anthony. That was just a few years ago. And it was built by the Chinese. Today, it is in a disaster. You understand? When Alan Chastney came in 2016, and I listened to him, he said Alan Chastney was traveling a lot. Today, Philip J. Pierre is traveling a lot, and they don't even say when they are traveling.
That's right.
But when Alan Chastney was traveling, he wants to get back the economy on track.
Yep.
And we have seen that. Philip J. Pierre policies on the international scale. First thing he went to visit Maduro. He didn't know if Trump would be coming into power today. We have a situation where it's a 10% levy on us. Mm-hmm. Emma Hippolyte said they don't know what is happening.
Yep.
You remember a few years ago, the embassy in the United States, Washington, was upgraded by $4 million. Mm-hmm. And who was spearheading at that embassy? Mm-hmm. Leo Clark wife, which is the chairman of the St. Lucia Labour Party. Leo Clark wife, Alan Shastney, first thing he did, he fired her for incompetence. And today, Emma Hippolyte will come on the thing and said that she do not know what is happening with the Americans.
I mean, she don't know even a child that is just born know exactly what we're facing. It's a crisis.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so that's what I had to say. Okay, well, have a blessed one.
All right, thank you. All right, so that's our last call. You want to say your final, before I make my final statements, you'd want to?
Yeah, I would just like to say, it's all not doom. It's not all doom and gloom for us. We have a opportunity, as other regional leaders are saying. Prime Minister is not saying it, but other regional leaders are saying, that we have a real opportunity here to, fund together as one region, try to develop our skill set, try to work on our agriculture. It's a work in progress, but it needs to happen. We need to diversify from the banana industry. I mean, the banana industry, as far as I look at it, if I was Prime Minister, we would have bananas in one segment of St. Lucia. We would not have bananas all over St. Lucia. Banana is not a crop that is sustainable for our type of topography as an island. We would have to diversify in other things. And there are a lot of crops and foods that could be used to substitute bananas, but it would still grow here in St. Lucia. I would try to my best to, try to develop our agricultural sector in basically trying to get more diverse crops and more crops that are more sustainable to our whole environment and would protect our environment, because obviously we cannot pack and run away from the hurricanes. We cannot pack away and move away from the storms. They will come.
They will come.
Maybe later they will come.
Preparation.
So we cannot. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And as a country, we are very, we procrastinate too much.
But
we
we're
cannot
behind.
wait for the next to say, oh, our bananas are down by 49%, 50%, 80% because of the storm. No, let's diversify away from bananas that we are able to get another crop and food source that would be able to hold us during those storms. We need to also think of energy security. When it comes to the dependence of oil, we are too stuck on the dependence of oil. We had a geothermal situation in Soufrière. Where is that project going? What is happening? We had the wind farm that was supposed to be done in Dennery. Where is that going? We have the solar that is on the airport, but there were talks about having it in Grozile. You heard nothing about that. You have places like Strozel, which sees so much sun all year round.
So it sounds like you're talking about a failed government when it comes to preparing the people for the storm that was there in the distance coming.
It has been failing for a while, and I think Trump has just only highlighted the fact that we've been failing successive governments, and at the end of the day, there needs to be, discussion about our way forward. We need to start putting things in place. Where do we want to see ourselves 30 years from now? When it comes to education, when it comes to healthcare, when it comes to our food security, when it comes to our infrastructure. Right then, Dennery, again, I was not done when talking about the aspect of, renewable energies. You have tidal systems, tidal works, whereby the sea, the Atlantic Ocean is very rough on the eastern side.
Yeah.
We can take advantage of that when the sea is rough, and when the tides come in, when the waves come in, it can turn mini turbines and give you power. All of those things can happen. But we seem to just think of, certain sources of energy. We have everything at our disposal. And I don't like, I disagree with people who tell you, oh, we live on a rock, we have no natural resources.
We do.
That's a damn lie. That's a damn lie.
That's a lie.
We produce 2 Nobel laureates. Let us start there. We produce 2 Nobel laureates in St. Lucia.
And 2 of the best prime ministers, Mr. Chasney and John Compton.
Mr. John Compton. John Compton was a visionary.
Yeah.
Up to now, I'm waiting for that tunnel that's supposed to be underneath the mountain in the valley to connect us to Babono.
Oh, it was a mountain they were going to build?
No. There is a mountain there, because the mountain range between Dennery
and
if you climb that mountain, you will see Babono, you will see this area. So if they drill through that area, you would have access to the northern quadrant of St. Lucia, northeastern quadrant of St. Lucia. You can have access to Bexon, because at the top of Dennery Riviere is Pitonfleur. At the top of Pitonfleur, in that area, there is Forestier. Below there is Cul-de-sac. So if you build a tunnel through there, bypassing the Badlil, you understand, you could be in Bexon in no time. You understand? I'm still waiting for the pot that they were supposed to put in Cul-de-sac. That now, if you have that tunnel between Dennery and Cul-de-sac, now you have easy access to Vieux Fort. You don't need to have the port in Vieux Fort functional, because in 20 minutes you'll be in Vieux Fort. And now you could make a designated port in Vieux Fort for tourism. Tourism in Vieux Fort means connection through St. Vincent, means connection through the Grenadines.
All I can tell you, forget about tourism in Vieux Fort and tunnel and cul-de-sac right now. The government you have is a lame duck government right now, and that's not going to happen now.
But
period.
Honestly, I just wish that, the thought could come, the conversation could happen. Because, Garfield, you have to realize that things don't happen immediately, but you need to plan. You need to plan.
Yeah.
I feel what happens with our governments is, over the years, once one government leaves, another one takes over, half of the projects are stopped. Half is delayed, just to make the other side look bad. And there is no conversation about what actually works. what actually makes sense, and how can we implement strategic plans that would create, improvements for the people. It cannot be the party.
I want to make
to be Lucia first.
I want to make a bold statement to you before you leave. If Alan Chasney administration had won that last elections, I believe that St. Lucia would have been transformed when it comes to infrastructure based on the pace he was going. The hospital in Vieux-Fort, the airport would have been almost completed. Road networks would have been built, grossly, traffic would have been controlled. The healthcare system, $75,000 medical card for every citizen. I am telling you, I honestly believe in my heart that St. Lucia would have been different right now as we speak. I have no doubts about it, my friend.
Definitely.
Yep, no doubt about it.
I always tell you, I give Jack his jacket. I really believe Miss Chasney, really, he really became that leader that I came to admire after COVID.
Mm-hmm.
And he made COVID. I feel that if, they had started the ground running on St. Jude's, maybe it would be looking at a different
COVID messed that up big time too, huh?
And COVID messed up a lot.
Because
of things,
remember that the hospital was being built. Guys were working on that hospital in Vieux-Fort night and day,
COVID, yeah. During COVID,
all during COVID. So, and I'm happy that you were able to see the propaganda of the Labour Party during Mr. Alan Chasney's reign, because remember, they were angry. They said he will never win over their dead bodies. And you saw the man, you saw him going to different countries looking for aid, meeting with different world leaders, whether it's UK, America, and different parts of the world. And then, again, we saw him coming back to the country with resources. Then, bam, COVID hits. Then you see the real McCoy of Chasney coming out, the real leadership coming out, even with the COVID pressure, even with opposition pressure. And I believe that COVID-19 made this man into a very good prime minister in St. Lucia. It shaped him.
Definitely. And if you have to have another Alan Chasney government, I just wish you get that second half of him, that person who comes on the ball, ready to work day one, have the plans, have the ideas, working with the people, keeping communication, and more importantly, keeping the communication, because
right.
The miscommunication will come, but you have to debunk it immediately,
and that's what we're doing now.
You have to try your best to show the people that what you say you're doing, you're actually doing, and you have a clear vision, you have a clear step, and everybody knows where we want to go. So those who want to believe the other side, yes, but now you have a track record.
You have a track record.
You have a track record of Philippe J. and then you have a plan for the future. So where are we going?
So are you working with other young people to bring them back from the propaganda, misinformation about the United Workers' Party and Chasney? Are you working with young people like yourself, talking to them and showing them, I would call the light, I would say the light?
Well, at the end of the day, we're all trying to just survive the day right now, trying to, do what we can to survive right now, day by day. And I believe at the appointed time, things take time, but things will come together. But again, the leaders now have to reach out.
Yeah.
I can understand when you're in government, things can be hectic, things can be busy. But now you're in opposition, you have a little more time. You need to come and sell your plans to the people. Leave Rosalie and come to Dennery, come to Miku, come to the community nights, come to
Audio, Belmont.
I cannot sell you when I don't know what you're about.
That's right.
You understand?
I
need to know what you're about. I need to know what makes sense for me, where's my place as a person, and where I can sell you to other people. Or unless I cannot do that, I will not go out there and make a fool out of myself.
True.
So I will let you know that for sure.
But I appreciate your openness, your honesty as a young man. In spite of some people misunderstanding you earlier, I understood what you were saying, that you got caught up in all this, fake and propaganda out there.
And not me only, a lot of
and many other young people. And that's our problem in the country, is that we fail to listen.
Mm-hmm.
We are so caught up in, he's not saying what I want him to say. But if an individual is sharing their past, then why are we not learning? Why are we not saying, look, we got to come much harder, tougher, and constant when it comes to debunking misinformation? Because it do take root in the minds of especially younger people. And thank you so much I documented that. And thank you so much for being my guest. I appreciate you and look forward to a change of your score that you give to Mr. Perry. He don't deserve 8. I can tell you that off the bat. But thank you so much for being here with me. Blessings, all right, brother?
All right.
Thank you so much. And folks, this brings us to the end of Caribbean American News Media. We had a very long show. I wanted to hear from him. And the whole point, folks, is here is a young man who, young, I'm sure he just started in voting. And misinformation really, takes especially the minds of our young people. And I really appreciate him saying, look, I got caught, and then I was able to see for myself and recover from that. And so thank you so much for the information, and thank you so much, our viewers, for being here with us here on Caribbean American News Media Platform. Have a beautiful night, folks. And by the way, let me just correct something. The gentleman never said that he's not going to vote for Mr. Chastney. He is supporting the United Workers' Party candidate there in Dennery, and so I want us to refrain from saying that. Let us stop it. I don't support these type of accusations, and I am greatly disappointed if that's what I'm hearing. This is a young guy. There are many young people out there that we got to reach, and you do not win an elections by dividing or cursing people out or insulting people. You don't win like that, friends. And so we got to listen a little more and speak a little less. All right? Thank you so much. Have a beautiful night.